Welcome to the show. There are many ways you can support the show tonight. You can send us a hyper chat on Odyssey by typing your message and hitting the little $, setting the amount and sending send. You will send us a hyper chat. You can also send a Rumble Rants on Rumble. You can also send us a super chat on Entropy, or you can send us an anonymous super chat using the shadow chat system to send Monero. All these options are wonderful. They all work, and they all help us keep the internet and the lights on and keep the show going for you and everyone else in the audience. Thank you for supporting the show. Enjoy the episode. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. We have a good show today. We have a special guest. I'm very excited. Our friend Henrik Palmgren from Red Ice TV has joined us, and we won't waste any of his time. We're going to go ahead and bring him on and start the show. I want to say I'm really happy. Red Ice was one of the top shows that inspired me in the way I built my own show, so it's quite an honor to do this. Henrik, welcome. Oh, sorry. I goofed it. I still had you muted. How are you?
Welcome. Pretty good. Very good. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying, I want to know a little bit though about the history, because you guys you had a little bit more of a conspiratorial kind of bent in the beginning. When did you guys go into the ethno-nationalist kind of angle? You guys are very well known for that now.
I'd say 10 years ago, more hardcore on that topic. 2014, I'd say, something like that. I did shows on Zionism, multiculturalism back in at least 2010, maybe 2009. Like JQ and J, maybe more Zionism, right? Kind of thing. Maybe that type of angle.
Right.
earlier than that too. But yeah, no, always talked about some of those topics. Always been into it, and it was not until kind of I traveled around in Sweden and learning about some of the old history in my neck of the woods where I was growing up, and then that coupled with the Barbara Specter clip in 2010 that literally like just changed the trajectory. Like those two combinations was like, it was like, whoops, what's happening here? What are they trying to do? They're trying to replace us. God damn it. And then it's like, all right, now we got to talk about this. I've always enjoyed talking about the deep, kind of philosophical questions and what are we doing here? Where are we going? Where we come from? How do we get here? All those, questions, esoteric things, even occult things, and like, Freemasonry, occult orders and symbolism, like all that kind of stuff. That's what we covered back in the good old days of Red Ice, like 2006, when I started the radio show for that. So that we talked about that for many, many years, and it got kind of, maybe not like over time. It was kind of a one point, just like a kind of a cutoff point, like, okay, we need, now we're talking about this. Although we've injected a little bit more, we try to bring our audience with us as well, and kind of piecemeal. I think it could be a shock, and it was a shock to some people. Although it's bizarre to me, because like, this is not different from like something, I covered this in a show in 2011. What is this so upsetting now, kind of thing. But anyway, there was some people that were, because, on that kind of side of things, there's at least used to be a lot more kind of lefties, and, they're more like universalist or whatever you want to call them kind of thing. And so when we really started going hardcore on like nationalist topics, and in particular anti-white topics, let me just put it that way, like a lot of anti-white topics and exposing hatred against whites and Europeans and stuff like that. Like a bunch of people are like, racism. But then later on, it's like, I countless people that we've heard from, like, all right, you're right, and they roll around, 3, 4, 5, or even 6, 7 years later, and they're like, okay, I see it now, So I think excuse me, I think we made the right call to go in that direction for sure. We had to, it was a risk, kind of a risk at that time. We were well established within that kind of environment, you know what I mean? And so the decision to all of a sudden, almost all of a sudden, go into some of these topics a little bit more hardcore was definitely felt like a risk, and like, oh, what's going to happen now? Are people going to stop supporting us? But there was with that came a whole nother audience and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been, someone had to say it.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And, the timing that you guys get into it was the perfect timing, because that's when the issue became really hot, right? They started flooding Europe about that time. And
it was like a year after, something like that. I forget when that really ramped up. It's kind of a little fuzzy, to be honest, but it's 13, 14, 15. That's kind of a little bit of a blurring together for me. It's a decade ago. It is a decade ago now, but it was like we just kind of started talking about it, and almost like, if you will, like a gift, if I remember the dates correctly, it was like almost to the day, like a year after that like the crazy stuff with the total just open borders and flooding into Europe commenced, and it hasn't really eased off, of course, since then. It's just less media attention on it, essentially, right? It was such a shocker, but illegal immigration, border crossings into Europe and stuff, it's almost even more mechanized and organized now. There's like more NGOs, more boats out there, like just facilitating this, the invasion, essentially.
On you guys, you released on your Telegram this interesting thing about Highest, where they had these literal way stations all the way up from Central America right into the United States. And it must be really kind of intense to have seen this all this time, because I joined the party a little bit later. I mean, I didn't get here until basically COVID times, so I'm a little bit of a newbie comparatively. A lot of a newbie, actually. But, it's very interesting to see how these issues, they haven't gone away. They've only gotten infinitely worse. And now with the Zionism explicitly, I mean, now we've seen it to the point, like we were talking about on your show, where it's actually become a fracturing line in this country. Pretty hardcore, actually.
Oh, yeah, and European countries too, of course. So some European countries that have been more on the left have always been kind of anti-Israel, kind of by default almost, because it kind of comes a little bit more with left-wing policies. Not by any means that they're anti, let's say, Jewish interest or like, organized ethnic interest from Jews, but rather just because Israel is, is white supremacy, essentially. So that's why they're against it. So kind of for all not necessarily all the wrong reasons, but most wrong reasons, they're against the state of Israel and kind of some of their activities and whatnot. But no, so Europe is doing it, and I think they're just on a it's very fascinating to me. They're on a losing streak in the PR war, and that's a good thing. And I don't want to complicate it, because kind of when you're given such a thing of sorts, right? Because we didn't do that more than exposing it. Maybe they're doing it to themselves, but there is this other aspect which I've been trying to highlight in recent shows, which is called the gathering of Israel, where essentially you have this kind of biblical commandment, a mitzvah, that they have to go back to Israel, basically all of them. And of course, so the antagonism that a lot of people then, or countries or whatever you want to call it, like expressing this. Same thing with the obviously the ICC, right? The International Criminal Court now came out. Karim Khan talking about these war crimes, and trying to, I think he's trying to spur on arrest warrants. I misunderstood that first. I thought that he had issued arrest warrants, but if I understood it correctly,
I thought it was a direct issuing. They didn't do that directly. They were just trying to encourage it.
I heard, what's his name again? Napolitano, right? Judge Napolitano. He was talking with Douglas McGregor, and in the intro of that, he said that it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially, he's encouraging that the guard below him issue an arrest warrant. So it's like he initiates the first step, but then there's a second layer to that. If I understand this correctly, maybe I'm misunderstanding this then, but if he's correct what he said, that's how I understand it. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's not even that. It's very toothless, to be honest, the whole thing. It's very symbolic. Yeah. But the strange thing with it is that he's also issuing arrest warrants for the Hamas leaders, right? So he's recognizing that, Gallant, the defense minister, and Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, are like, you're doing war crimes this bad. How can you issue arrest warrants for the very people that are also then fighting against those war crimes? You see what I'm saying? Like they're trying to both sides the issue, which nullifies both of them essentially, which is weird, which is exactly. And to me, it goes to this other point where I'm like, they're literally trying to just strengthen the conviction on both sides, because this might actually be beneficial to Netanyahu at the end of the day. It might actually strengthen him. It's too early to tell, so we'll see. But it might actually strengthen him. And now they're seen as a victim, as an underdog again, which is fascinating, right? Because for a while, Israel is like, now they have all these weapons, they have nukes, they're powerful, big army stuff, they have tech, they're all this, like they're a advanced nation in that sense. And Palestine, is like the victim, right? And it's always been the Jews are the victim. So that's flipped now, essentially, right? So this thing is almost seeking to flip it back again in a weird kind of way. So I don't know. But the gathering of Israel is kind of interesting, because it's almost like it says in the Bible that essentially all the nations will turn against you. Mm-hmm. And that's when Jews are going to start returning to Israel. And there's clips out there, like old grandmas talking about how like the time for Jews in the U.S. is over. They need to go back to Israel now, stuff like that. So there's, what I'm saying is, even the supposed, but I don't want to complicate it. Even the seeming loss in the PR war, kind of on the back end of it, kind of have a religious beneficial aspect to it for them, for those who believe in end times and the Hebrew Bible and all that stuff. That like their prophecy says that they're supposed to return, and of course the environment now that they're helping to create might facilitate that. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy then, or something. I don't know, but it's an intention. That's my point.
I've heard Adam Green talk about this a lot too. That they have that. This is meant to drive them all home. This kind of wires into this larger plan that they have. I mean, I don't know what their timeline is for this, but I've been in a debate with them once, and they referred to this greater Israel idea as a pipe dream. And I think that was a deceptive thing. I think, that was, okay, sure. I think what they mean, I think the plan is it's down the line. I think this is 100 years kind of plan. I don't think this is like, in a decade. But maybe it is a couple decades. It could well be something they hope to achieve within a couple decades. What do you think about that? You think that's something realistic, especially if they're driving them home by sort of amplifying the anti-Semitism environment to kind of force them out of our sort of diaspora nations for them and back into their own? You think that's the thing? It sort of fits with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think they have a window of opportunity, and if they don't move, they're going to lose that, because it's just so much, anti-Israeli sentiments essentially out there right now. So I'm not sure what the plan is, even if there is a plan. Some days I'm like, is there even a plan? Does anybody sit there like, what will Israel be like in 500 years from now? Granted, many of our nations don't either of sorts. You in that sense, I guess you can't hold them to a higher standard. But what I'm saying is they have a window of opportunity, like so many other countries have. Like Russia had to move because their demographics is in the shitter essentially, so they had to move on their thing. In Ukraine, whatever you might think of that. Same thing with China and Taiwan, right? They have to move as well with their one-child policy and all that stuff. They're going down the tubes. And with Israel, maybe it's more. I know the Hasidic have a high birth rate, so maybe that's not a problem for them. But in terms of their popularity online, the popularity among other nations is certainly dwindling. But look at the countries they need for backup, right? They need a Germany there to keep giving them money. They need, obviously, an America there that keeps supporting them financially with military technology, buying shit off of Israel back and forth. And if America's changing demographically, and they're letting in all these Muslims and non-white people that essentially just side with Palestine because to them this is an ethnic issue. Essentially, they're like, oh well, these are brown people, so they're our guys, and these Jews are white supremacists, so we're against them. What I'm saying is, if that keeps going, you're going to see more and more. And again, unfortunately, for us, it's like, do you want to be a rock or a hard place? Where do you want to be, kind of thing? We're stuck between these two forces that ultimately don't serve our interests, obviously. But the more pro-Palestinian people you get in Congress and in the House, and they'll get elected because they have the demography on their side, unless we stop it, of course. But excuse me. So what will probably happen is that then you will see less support in America for Israel, ironically, because of things like the Hart-Celler Act and the open borders, the Hayez activity, and the type of replacement activism that many Jewish NGOs and activists have been engaging in over the last few decades now. So they're kind of doing it to themselves. But my point is, I'm being too long-winded about this, but like they're creating conditions which ultimately, if seen to its fullest extent, going to not be beneficial for Israel. And in fact, America is going to then stop supporting them. So therefore, you see what I'm saying? Like they have that window of opportunity where they have to act. So that's why I'm thinking some of this stuff that at least they want to do on paper, like the, building the third temple and, doing all their ritual sacrifices and stuff like that. I think that's within the next 10, 15 years, to be honest. 10, maybe less. I don't know. 5 years, maybe.
No, I see it too. I absolutely see it too. But you do see these things where they're getting pushback, and it seems like they've shot themselves in the foot with some of this invasion, anti-white sort of policies that they've created because they've imported this population that hates them. But that's just on the surface, right? That's counteracted. That concept is counteracted by this idea that they're intending to do this to drive them back. It's very interesting, and I guess we'll just have to sort of wait and see and chart what happens. But that kind of makes sense because if you look at it on the surface level, you go, why would they import a population that hates them? I mean, if they're basically running the country, they have somewhere around 70%-ish of the country's wealth under their control and management. Why would they want to import a population that more or less wants them gone? Well, and they always want to put this, of course, on white people, but really, I think that the white people who wanted them gone or something or something nasty, I think that's way less than the Muslim population over what they've done in Gaza. So it's kind of perplexing, I think, to the average person. Like, why would they import their enemies? And then you kind of look at it at this deeper level, and you start thinking, okay, well, maybe they do have a plan to send, to create this situation that entices all their people to be like, all right, we're out of here. Like you said, that grandma saying, well, America's done now. The golden calf is blood dry. Out we go. Yeah.
Well, sometimes I think, maybe they do have a plan, maybe they don't, but it could also just be that, I'll say this. I think it also shows that it's not a co-joint singular plan behind closed doors. You have different ethnic interest, obviously, internally, even among Jews. Like you do have a left-wing faction of Jews that are pushing in one direction. You have a religious faction of Jews pushing kind of in the other direction. In some cases, they line up, of course, and they push in the same direction.
Right.
As an example, left-wing Jews wants to open the borders. Well, right-wing Jews or Hasidic or Chabad Jews also wants to do that because the destruction of Edom or Amalek is part of one of the mitzvahs, one of the commandments, right?
Yeah.
So the replacement of us, of whites or whoever is Amalek at the time, I mean, this is like interchangeable to them too. Like, oh, now it's Palestinians. Oh, actually, it's whites. No, it's, like it goes back and forth, but
it's like their enemy, whoever that is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whoever is not good to them at that moment. That's Amalek or whatever. But Edom more specifically, I think it has been described as the West, essentially Europe, and in the extension that means America and other white countries. So that is very much a part of it. Like the interest of destroying us or like doing those things seem more important to them initially, at least. And then they get fallout from that, where they then try to use us like, oh, we're the victims now. Like, let's bring in all these brown people. And they're like, white man, help me. These brown people are coming after me, like the meme.
Right. No, exactly. But you saw they walked out of the Harvard commencement today over this. This was a protest.
Yeah, wow. I've been following. They walked out on, was it Jerry Seinfeld that had a commencement speech somewhere? I forget where it was. They were walking out on him because, of course, again, he's a Zionist, right? So he's like photographed posing with like machine guns. So it had like a shoot a Palestinian day or something like that. This is a couple of years ago, but it was pretty bad optics. We showed it in one of our shows. And so they walked out on him. All these, I forget which university it was now, but it's just a bunch of brown women essentially at these universities now. I was like, holy shit. Ton of them had these like, Palestinian scarves on and stuff, and some of them ripped up their diplomas. I forget if that was Yale or Harvard, but it was one of the Ivy Leagues. So yeah, that's continued at the universities, which again, hey, left-wing policies, Columbia University, Frankfurt School, where does all these ideas come from, right?
Yeah, it just seems like it's reached its logical conclusion, really. It's just come to fruition for the rotten fruit that it is. You ever seen this one? This is one of my favorite clips. Did you ever catch this clip before?
I think so.
Yeah, he's basically saying their commandment is white to supremacy. Destroy Amalek. And what better to fight Amalek today in its form of white supremacy than a Jewish community united, right?
And Muslims. Doesn't even... Okay. Sorry, go ahead, play the clip.
Today we have white supremacy. In the Torah, we had Amalek. Amalek is seen as the eternal enemy of our people, whose members found strength by making us suffer. Therefore, when the Lord your God grants you safety from all your enemies around you, and the land that the Lord your God is giving to you as a hereditary portion, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Do not forget. Our rabbinic sages parse these sentences and derive two distinct meanings. Blotting out the memory of Amalek is a military command, literally to destroy Amalek. Now, facing today's Amalek, we are reminded that the Torah calls us not just to escape, but to extirpate Amalek. We are commanded to do real and literal battle against it. That means coming off the bench in the fight against white supremacy.
It makes it very clear, and this is not just to destroy us, but to blot out our memory, and that's a really...
Yes, like we've... Yeah, it's so bizarre, right? It's like this, we couldn't get into the country clubs. Like, I'll exterminate your seed forever. Whoa, slow down, bro. You can do your own country club. It's fine. It just, not extradite. What was the word he used again?
Extirpate. That's not even a very common one. Let me look that up now. I'm curious. I think it just means like completely root out and destroy. Extirpate.
Yeah, just Google gives me extradite for some reason, which I don't. It's the
extirpate, root out and destroy completely.
There you go.
Synonym, similar: weed out, destroy, eradicate, stamp out, root out. So he makes it clear that the commandment is to
genocide.
Yeah, it's to basically genocide us.
And this is like a left wing. I forget his name now, but it's like a left wing rabbi. It's like Reformed Judaism or something. I forget what denomination. Excuse me, but yeah. So that's your left wing. Imagine what the right wing Jews are saying.
He's your peace and love one,
Yes, exactly. And by the way, if you keep playing it, he talks about how basically we're going to use Muslims essentially or like there are allies against them. He says that later.
Yeah, let's just finish it short.
Means putting our reputations and our money and our physical bodies on the line. But also so that we are ready to answer people with radically destructive and incoherent versions of history, so that we can counter white supremacists, so that we can counter Amalek and blot them out by retaining on our lips and in our records their history. By being bearers of history, we can help guide the future. Blotting out Amalek need not merely be about military conquest. Equally important is ideological victory. And nothing could more readily counter white supremacy than a Jewish community proudly helping our Muslim neighbors. There is nothing that undermines a white supremacist worldview more than diverse communities getting along and building together towards the future.
He's admitting it's a weapon there. He's admitting that this is like this is weapons of mass genocide, mass eradication. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible admission of so many things there that they want to destroy us. That we're, I mean, they want to wipe us out.
Can you imagine if there was a pastor or somebody like a, like an Asatru, like a Funsid, Norse Viking religion, priest or whatever you want to call them, right? One who guides ceremonies, talking like this about another ethnic group.
No,
holy
not really.
shit! They would be like immediate, like just like they would lose their. Because I'm sure this church he's part of has like tax exempt status and they have all these privileges or whatever, right? In that case, it would be like shut it down. It would literally like coming in and arresting people for calling for genocide,
Oh, 100%. I mean, the closest thing I can think of to this is like some of those Christian identity pastors way back in the 80s. They would say some pretty radical things, but that's about it.
Nothing like that, right? Nothing like that, surely.
It's some pretty rough stuff. If you look at some of the ones like,
what
Jews
groups
for
were
one,
they targeting?
Jews, blacks. I mean, generally the enemies of white people. It was pretty rough. Gays.
What happened to those Christians?
Oh yeah, they're not really around anymore, right? That's the thing, right? Like the SPLC and them basically sue them into non-existence. Mm-hmm. They just sue them and sue them and sue them until there's no more money left, right? So then they have to dissolve. So that's what happens when it's white people who go this hardcore and off the deep end. But they do it, and it's like they're just rewarded for it.
That's fine.
It's okay.
And I mean, it's not like just this guy. It's like a conveyor belt of just like that we can churn out in terms of different rabbis and activists that talk in this way.
Oh yeah, we literally could sit here for 6 hours just pulling the clips off my machine locally.
I know,
it's just insane.
Yep. That's how insane it is.
Yeah, and yet they're always trying to read into what people like you and I are saying and saying that we're secretly like dog whistling or something, that we're really trying to do some horrible thing, or it's always this weird schizophrenic like they're trying to read our minds thing. But with these people, they're very very clear what they're saying. I mean, they're using insane words for extermination like extirpate, like. What?
Yeah.
Come on.
Blot them out. Eradicate their memory for all time. And he mentioned something else that's interesting, and it's about the history, right, of writing. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Even I remember this one female rabbi, again, Reformed Judaism, was at the White House. This is under Obama, I think it was. And they were talking about one of the genocides they did against the Greeks or something. Yom Kippur was like, oh, this is great. We're free at last. We killed all these Greeks. But anyway, she was like, we wrote a different story, right? So it says writing down. It's very important to write down their version of things. And then that's because that's the memory that's going to be left behind. And how many times have they done that historically? I just did a, kind of a deep dive into like comparing like Egyptian history with what like the Hebrew Jewish history that you can like find in the Bible, and just to see how in the Bible, of course, it's like these guys are the bad guys, obviously, right? They just enslaved Jews for no reason and all that stuff. But then you go to the Egyptian sources and read about the Hapiru or the Hebiru, the spell a little bit different, right? There's also theories that they were the Hyksos and stuff like that, right? But basically they were they were very difficult to deal with. Long story short, Egyptians like, I'm not sure if I can use the F word here or not, but I'm
no,
sure
go for it. No, you're totally.
They were like, fuck this shit. We're enslaving these guys. These are up to no good. And it was, basically it. And it's usually historically, it's like, oh, for no reason whatsoever. We were so excellent that they couldn't, they were so jealous. They had to, enslave us essentially or whatever. Exactly. But it's interesting to compare that and see the different, you're reading about the Amorites or, other groups in like around the Canaanite kind of area at that time, and the Bronze Age, and, the Bronze Age collapse comes in the wake of that too, which is kind of interesting, right? They invite like the sea peoples come in, and like all these ancient civilizations basically just kind of collapse or whatever. And then how they rewrite that, like this was God's punishment, kind of thing, and the 10 plagues of Egypt, and we did that essentially. When of course historically, like no, you didn't. But that's what they do. They write history. It's very important to them. Remember that, writing things up, saying this, saying that, and then again blotting out other people's version of that history.
When they're doing this, and all their little activist groups, quote unquote, are doing this, this makes me think about them blotting out the history of Amalek. Is that not it? Is that not this our history as Amalek being torn down and erased? I mean, that seems to be the mission when they do this sort of stuff, right? Is that they're
Absolutely.
just gonna, they're gonna change history, and we're not gonna be in it. Is I guess the idea. That is a really,
that's the point. It's why they rename schools and streets and libraries and universities and all that stuff. It's basically of saying that name never existed, essentially. And that's what happens when you get colonized. I mean, almost the first thing, that America did when they invaded Iraq was to pull down a statue of Saddam. Like, you're being invaded, you're being taken over. This is conquest. That's what that is. And, so they do that with the, this is another thing to that I was thinking about. But yeah, they tear down all the statues. Oh, it was look what happened in China, right? The Great Leap Forward, or the Cultural Revolution. Was that what it's called? Something like that.
The four olds needed to go.
Yeah, everything from the previous age. It's literally like their great reset. You know what I mean? And it's year zero again, essentially, right? Here's the new system in place, and then you, of course, start reading about all these people. And I forget their names now. Steinberg, or a few of these very, very prominent Jews that helped out, of course, Mao, right? When all that shit happened.
It was, and you realize it's like, we're all Bolsheviks, right?
Oh yeah,
ones that helped Mao,
Bolshevik Jews. One of the guys, I forget his name now. He got more money, more salary than Chairman Mao did. That should tell you something like that. He was an advisor. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's insane. I found this one today. This one also might interest you. I'm not sure you caught this, but this is just absolutely insane. But there is a statement that was made by Julius Malema, who is, of course, always calling for, kill the Boer, to slaughter white people in South Africa that he now unfortunately controls. And he admits here, and this is, he says, anti-Semitism is hatred, prejudice, and hostility towards Jews. Some of our biggest financial donors are Jewish. We love them. So there's the tie there as well.
I remember that. Yep, exactly. I think it might have been from a while ago, but yeah, exactly. Which is then, it's interesting, right, that, the dichotomy there of like, they're against, because South Africa, didn't they do that thing where they're going after and charging Israel for war crimes or something like that?
Yeah, they did. It's so interesting. I don't know what happened with that. Do you know the outcome of that?
I don't know. I'm not sure what came of that. I'm not sure. Did that contribute to the ICCC or something doing their decision? I forget what it is, right? But so they're doing that, but both sidesing it of sorts, right? Where they're like, oh, it's just a state of Israel. That's totally fine. But all these activists that are paying us to, basically conquer whites in South Africa, oh, those are great. Those are the good guys because they're helping us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. South Africa, Israel. It should say. It says South African lawyer presents evidence to ICJ court of, quote, genocidal intent of Israeli officials. I mean, that shouldn't be hard.
Oh, so that's ICJ, though, right? So that's the International Court of Justice, not the International Criminal Court, which is the latest issuing, right? So those are two different entities.
So they're getting it all around, I guess, but it shouldn't be too hard for them to do that. I mean, you had all these Israeli officials going out there talking about it. I mean, you had literally had Benjamin Netanyahu coming on, I forget which international television though, but he was comparing them to Amalek. So in doing that, he was expressing their desire not just to destroy these people, but to basically go scorched earth and salt the earth in their path. And that's, come on. I mean, how much do you need for that one?
Yep. No, that's what they do. It's like Samson option style. Just we can't have it. No one will. And then they're ready to like burn everything down if they can't get it. Yeah, Sidney Rittenberg was the name of the guy I was thinking about. The revolutionary. There's a documentary about him, about how he helped China and set up communism over there, essentially. So when Americans have an issue with communism, we're like the GOP, the conservatives or whatever, like, well, your greatest ally seems to be at it again and helping you in that fight too. Both ends. Yep, both sides.
Sidney Rittenberg, Mao. Yeah, that's him. It's really...
The Jewish Daily Forward has a piece called a Jew in Mao's China. We did an episode on that one, or a piece on that segment on that. It's very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a bunch of articles out there. Yeah, Sidney Rittenberg.
Yeah,
I forget what he did before.
Even the New York Times, Sidney Rittenberg, idealistic American aide to Mao, who evolved counsel capitalists, dies at 98.
Yeah, so he goes over there, does communism, and then he goes back home, and I think he joined like the board of Microsoft or something like that,
goodness.
like made a bunch of money. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Capitalism for me, but not that that's the greatest thing ever. But it's funny in terms of like, oh, you're gonna have communism now, and I'm gonna go back to capitalist America and make a bunch of money.
It really does seem like, to me, I've always thought that communism isn't really so much a governing system that you could actually deploy and run a country with, so much as it's a system that you trick everyone, you sort of bait them into hazard by tricking them to subscribe to it, and then all it does is turn all the classes against each other, and it just rots the country from inside. And then when all the rot is done, then you have to install something new, and I think they're always just hoping or already planning that they're going to get the reins after the thing has collapsed, but that's what it seems to be every time. It doesn't really seem to be something you could actually run a country by.
No, it's not meant to be. It's a reset system of sorts, right? You get rid of your enemies, you get rid of the worst class, and yeah, for a while you might run, some kind of communist system or something like that. But the people that install those things are never really. It's not about the ideology at the end of the day. It's about control, and it's about power, and it's about controlling others. And yes, money is part of it too. But ultimately, why do you need money? Well, most those, at least ideologically driven, power hungry people, then it's just a means to an end, right? The money. It's not about the money for of itself. It's because you want to do things with it, or you want to prevent others from having it, or whatever it is. So 100%. No, they believe in destruction, reorganization, and in some cases you hear them even say that, well, this is for the greater good. You see, we're just helping you. We're light unto the nations, and we're making sure that things are good. If we didn't do this, you'd die. We're saving you by doing this. That's what you hear.
Oh, they're the light bringer. It's kind of like Lucifer, I guess, right?
There you go.
Speaking of communist things that rot, I think there's probably a good segue. So now you might have noticed this. I don't know if you caught this one either, but this is a new one where this is the worship of George Floyd in the open, where he's being talked about in very Jesus-like terms. Basically, he was sacrificed for our sins. Did you happen to see this one yet?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's really good. It's like, wow, they're really going all in on this here.
It's been a rough ride. When I came here today, I almost had an emotional breakdown, because it reminded me the day that George Floyd got killed. Where you get you to lay the flowers at, and the red represent the blood, and the white represent the purification that George Floyd died for us. Each and every last one of us. Had no George Floyd died, we wouldn't be here. God chose him. He was a chosen vessel. Men are called, but few chosen.
Very religious terminology, Very religious terminology.
Yeah. Is that recent? And where are they in a church? Do you know the background to this?
I don't know the background story on this. I had pulled this somewhere on Twitter, actually. I don't know what the backstory was here.
I'm wondering what they're gathering for, and the colors. She's talking about what something represents. I'm wondering where they are. We don't have to know, but it's backstory is always interesting, because they've done murals to Floyd. There's stained glass windows now, right, to him.
Yeah.
And again, if you think about COVID and the Great Reset and all that stuff, it's kind of like he's the new Messiah essentially for this ideology that they've wheeled out since then.
100%. Actually, I did find it. It says exclusive from an account called Frontlines TPUS. This is Turning Point. It says at the opening of a George Floyd themed art exhibit at ASU, the gatekeeper of George Floyd Square, quote unquote, in Minneapolis makes a bold claim. George Floyd died for every last one of us, quote unquote.
For our sins.
Wow, for our sins, yeah. No, it's amazing. I want to see if they had a sample of the exhibit, actually, as well.
I was going to say, Twin Flames is that one, ASU Art Museum. Twin Flames, the George Floyd Uprising, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
No, that's Arizona State University. You said this was in...
ASU, yeah.
It's weird. But it's from Minneapolis. Oh, I see. Okay. From Minneapolis to Phoenix. Is that the one then?
Yeah, let's see. It's from this particular tweet, but I was seeing if they had a thing from the event here. The posters were carried by Black Lives Matter protesters in Minneapolis and Phoenix during the 2020 Summer of Love, quote unquote. It's just really something.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to see this big. It sounds like there's a big sculpture somewhere, right? This twin flames thing. Is that a?
Yeah.
See if that gives us something here. If I just,
I don't know. Twin. Yeah, it's just ASU Museum. That's the hit I'm getting on it.
Oh yeah, there you go. From Minneapolis to Phoenix. Oh, it's got a big giant
like
black
a painting or something. Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
You're talking about the red and the white. I don't see any white in the. It's just, you said white is purification. Oh, really? Now that's a bold statement right there.
Yeah, it might be kind of double meanings on that one there. Wow, I was just seeing if there was another AZ Central find meaning through George Floyd's death through protest art.
And remember, it was a few weeks after they had a baptism, a tub of water where people were baptized. Remember that? Like baptized in George Floyd's honor, or whatever. I forget what it was. I think it was like Christians that set it up, but it was like basically they were giving people baptisms in like George Floyd's name, essentially.
Now I have to search that because that just sounds so insane.
You'll find it. Do the just do George Floyd baptism or something like that, and there should be a video that comes up. People are like crying and they're being dunked in the water, and that's at that little square in Minneapolis, wherever that actually was.
Oh yeah, there it is. A street ministry, street revival / baptism in George Floyd Memorial Site in Minneapolis. Oh yeah, there's just two of them actually. Here's another one. It's a different one. There we go. Let's see bigger here. Still muted. Sucker.
Is that Instagram or TikTok or something?
Yeah, it's just YouTube. Well, there's them doing it. It doesn't have any audio.
Oh, the shorts. I hate the shorts. Like, because you can't control them.
I know.
I hate it.
It's terrible.
Like, to stop. No, I want to go back and they have to refresh the page. Audio doesn't work,
Oh, it's awful. And I'm not a fan of the portrait thing either. It's like, oh, come on.
No.
Can't you just turn the camera sideways?
No.
See, maybe there's
in the name of George Floyd, we're going to dunk you in this water. You know how it goes.
See if I can,
something like that.
Yeah, no, of course. It's got to be. Give us another one.
And people across racial boundaries are able to come together.
No,
and forgive.
It's not actually showing it. It's just him talking about it. I was going to see if I could find it.
But note too that it's always also about it's the unification at the kind of on the backs of whites then laying down, right? So it was like, oh no, it's oneness and love and all those kinds of things. And then look at what happened during the riots. How many white people were murdered? Oh, there it is. Yeah,
there it is. Now I got the audio to work. It signifies our submission. I mean, it's so nauseating to watch all those cops not just get on their knees, but some literally laid down on their belly. I was like, oh my God, like, are you kidding?
Yep, that's what they want.
It's
total
it's about
submission. Power at the end of the day. Yep,
100%. In the name of St. George, I bless you.
The music, and they're crying.
Jeez.
This day forward, that she will never be the same. Father, that you place your anointing upon her. You put your hand upon her, and you put grace upon her. And Father, we decree right now that the calling that you placed upon her life, that she will walk in.
This is church to them.
And as she's baptized,
it shows how religious it is.
Yeah.
Turned on the system audio a little bit. It shows how insanely religious of an entire ritual this thing is. That they.
Oh yeah.
Wild. Actually.
I mean, if you think about it, they do the same in. And there it is, right? They do the same when there's like terrorist acts or something in Europe. A bunch of white kids die, or white people die, essentially, like whether it's in London or Stockholm or Nice, France, or whatever it is, right? A bunch of people are like driven over by a truck or something that some Muslim stole. And then they have this big like love festival afterwards, us coming together and sure, the terrorists won't win. Now we'll do multiculturalism even harder, kind of thing, and really prove that it works. They're using the blood of these victims of these terrorist attacks as like the social glue that's like joining them, yes, in a new religion, like of sorts. You know what I mean? It's like ritual sacrifices happening. And then they're like, you kind of twisting that instead of then producing righteous hatred and anger and like, how do we stop this? Like, well, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. They almost turn it into something that's like the association with it now is actually good. Something like there's a religious experience when it happens. So there's a bad thing happening, but then they twist it for these, well, a bunch of liberals anyway, and anti-whites. They join under this and like, celebrating the bloodshed of whites, essentially. It's insane.
You remember these when it was that terror bombing in Manchester when they did the "Don't Look Back in Anger" thing?
Absolutely,
that's kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what you brought to mind.
Same thing. Sweden, Stockholm, they did the same thing. They did a big love festival with a bunch of hearts after the the truck attack. It was a Muslim that stole a truck.
What was there? How do they explain that away? It's just like, well, this is the price we have to pay for all these wonderful benefits that multiculturalism brings us.
Yeah, they don't even really explain it away. If they talk about it, it's like, oh, well, these racists are trying to use this to say our wonderful multicultural utopia isn't working, kind of thing.
Right. It's amazing
if
how
they even address it at all.
They just spin it, because the natural reaction is to have hatred for those trying to destroy you. That's a natural, healthy reaction that nature gives us all, and it's the right thing. But when they try to spin it like that, like, oh, the bad people want you to feel the way that nature designed you to feel. How twisted is that?
It's a wordplay. It's a psychological trick, right? Yeah. So to take something like that, which then should naturally be used against their system of diversity or whatever that they're seeking to enforce, of saying no, they wanted you to feel like this, so therefore you have to feel the opposite way, kind of thing. It's very clever. I'm sure it's been like focus groups, a bunch of like Freudian, psychological, abracadabra shit was going on in terms of like coming to that conclusion. How do we use this to our advantage, kind of thing? But of course, many people aren't buying it. We should say that too, that the terrorism that I shouldn't do that within quotes because that's real, but I'm saying the terrorism that we've seen have certainly not helped their cause, obviously, and more and more people are like therefore sick and fed up with it. But it's also the everyday stuff, because like, you have big events and you have like a bomb going off or people killed by a truck stolen by some, Muslim or whatever. But the everyday stuff doesn't get that kind of attention, right? Oh, yet another rape. Oh, yet another. Was it today from Sweden? Was three Arabs that have gone into a father of three. I forget where it was in Sweden now. And there was a robbery, but of course they had to torture him as well, and they used like a drill in his leg and shit like this, like the most sadistic, crazy shit that you can imagine. And then we're here. Oh, well, you can't feel anger. You see. Oh, well, these are just a couple of bad apples. You see. Oh, they're ruining it forever. At what point? How much are we meant to just wait and try to figure this out? Kind of thing. Like, oh, well, you might. You go out with your kid when you're out in the street somewhere, and you see an Arab. I'm like, well, maybe he won't try to stab me or my kid. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if we're lucky, he won't stab us. But you need to be like tolerant of this, and you need to make that call every time. Oh, is he one of the good ones, or am I in danger now? At some point, you just get tired and you say, I don't care if there are a few good ones. I just want them out. This is not something. We can't live like this, right? We can't live like this. We have to get these people out, and I don't care ultimately. Even if it's not a majority of them, there's still enough cases where you're like, all right, Zionists bomb their countries. We let them in, and then the thanks is that they're like disproportionately they rape and they do like humiliation crimes where they like piss our teenagers in the face and they film it and they put it up on social media because they think it's funny. Gang rapes, they're forming clan migrant gangs, crime activity, all kinds of like nasty stuff. And it's like, we're done. I'm done with it. Can't take it anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, why should we bear the cost of that? Even what you're talking about initially about how when you have to leave your house and you see one of these people, you have to do this calculus of like, is this the one that might attack my daughter that's walking with me or not? Like, come on. Somebody else described it to me in a really good way too, in a very simple way. Like if you had a bowl of M&Ms and there was 100 M&Ms in the bowl, but 2 are poison, would you still eat from that M&Ms? No, of course not. You'd say, what, take your bowl and get out of here.
Yeah. It's not worth it. I'm going to dump them all out and destroy them, exactly. You meant to make that calculation or something else I was thinking about. That was a good point, but it slipped my mind. We'll get back to it later.
Speaking of the everyday stuff, this one really kind of rattled me when I was doing prep for the show. We covered this. I covered this. I'm sure you might have even, I don't know if you took notice or covered it, but this one was really crazy where she got in a fight with this black girl and this white girl. And in the end, the white girl is on the ground with her. And eventually the black girl gets the upper hand and she takes her and she slams her head into the concrete again and again and again. It's horrifying to watch. And it was one of these things where you almost don't want to show it on there because it's not, It's not right for you to ask your chat to not Fed post and then show them things that wants to inspire Fed posting.
I know. Yeah, it's demoralizing. I mean, you need to know how bad it is at the same time. I mean, there's a certain portion of those clips that you can watch, but too much back to back, I'm just like, all right, we know, know what's going on here. It's like, but yeah, anyway, if you want to play, go ahead.
No. This one becomes relevant again, just in that they were trying to charge her as an adult for this adult style attack. And guess what? As you would expect, no dice.
Juvenile.
Oh, yeah. But one thing that actually kind of struck me is behind the lawyer in this. Here, I'll show you. Let's see where it is actually in the clip. Yeah, right there. Behind the lawyer in this clip is the mother. I think that's the mother. And the mother is the mother. So,
good
really,
influence.
Yeah, no, you can see where this kind of behavior came from. Exactly. Not non-existent in this picture.
By a person with a juvenile brain.
Sometimes children get involved in things that mom and dad
it's a
can't
child.
control. That's why we have juvenile courts, and that's why she should stay in juvenile court.
The deputy juvenile officer in charge of the investigation said in court today that her main reason for recommending Decloux remain in the juvenile system is because Decloux has no history of violence. In court today,
that you know of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that type of behavior certainly shows a tendency of, in fact, she's doing it when she's a juvenile as well, which should show you where this will lead then, obviously,
No, 100%. I mean, if this goes completely unchecked, it's just going to keep getting out of control. Now, as this kind of came out, a lot of people kind of started autistically digging into it, and they're like, oh, well, the girl that was a victim, she was burning the coal. This was a toll payment. I don't like that. Like if she did that, she's a child. I don't give a fuck. She's like,
it's still a white girl. No, it's still not right. And it's. I remember also a bunch of it became. I think it was in community notes on Twitter, where people are like, oh, she died, or she's getting seizures. Oh no, it was not that bad. Like they're trying to, oh no, she's doing fine. She's in hospital. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. Like just don't get angry about this one. Like what the fuck?
Brain damage. Brain damage.
I know, right?
No.
I know. Yeah, we can't live like this. Can't live with these people.
No, I mean, my question with all this, that it comes back, especially to every pro-white, I kind of have the same question. Like, what has to happen? What is the breaking point we get to?
How many?
Where, how many?
50
exactly.
500, 5,000, 50,000. At what point do we put our foot down and say, you know what, that's it. We're not going to live like this. At what point do you? Because it's just because it's low grade and a little bit every day, piecemeal, it's a slow trickle. Then it's almost like, well, it's not really happening. Again, it's just a couple of bad apples, and it's like after enough, times, your natural inclination is pattern recognition for those that have, higher than room temperature IQ. It's like, okay, well, clearly then this is going to be a problem. And because there's enough problem internally within our group anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's enough problem with white. We have enough issues. There are enough criminals within whites, right?
100%, yeah. We have our own problems for sure. And it's
so get a loud ATV going by here. That's what that is. I'm trying to mute.
I noticed. I have my own too. Sometimes there's like a raceway outside of my home. Like, oh god. Fortunately, I'm a late at night guy, so a lot of times that dies down. But every now and then you get one.
Yep.
If you don't mind, let's go ahead and take a break and just read some hyper chats and questions and whatever they got out there. Renata Kate says, epic co-host. I couldn't agree more, Renata Kate. Thank you, Renata Kate. Salute to you, ma'am, miss. I think Renata Kate's a miss. She's a miss. Yes, that's right. Let's go back to the top here. Let's see what we got. North Texas says, I've learned a lot from you over the past 2 years, and it's high time I started paying for it. Thank you for all your hard work. Well, thank you, North Texas. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your support, sir. BMC 1488 says, hail Nick and hail Henrik. Salute to you, BMC. Slick Willie says, Nick, I want to congratulate Henrik on the beautiful family. Thank him and Lana for their work. Have you guys heard about Biden asking the UN soldiers to help secure the election? Apparently it's on TikTok. A friend told me. I have not heard about the UN thing. Think about that.
It sounds like one of those things that do spread. It could be true. Of course, anything is possible. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's almost those. It's kind of. I won't say too good to be true because that sounds wrong. But you see what I'm saying? Like too much, exactly. Too on the nose. You know what I mean? But hey, maybe there's some truth that they stole the election anyway, right? In 2020, that's what they do now.
It's interesting what they're going to try, right?
I need to know more details about it before I comment on it. But anyway, could very well be true, so I'm not going to deny it.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp with that. I need to see some more about that. But he said it's on TikTok. A friend told me. You have to see if you can pass us a clip, Slick Willie, because that would be cool to take a look at. Lampshade Denier says George Floyd is the patron saint of Kill Whitey, quote unquote.
Yes, and that's why he's the new Jesus now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The anti-white age.
Right. It's pretty horrific, actually. I mean, that they want to make a saint out of somebody like that. He's just an absolutely horrible person in every respect. And, he didn't really die of neon neck, as we learned after the fact.
No.
What an amazing...
Choose the worst ones, which is almost like another way of rubbing it in your face. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They could choose the best whoops. I mean, I know it's also about, him being, killed by a white police officer or whatever, but there are others where there's been like incidences where like, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, there's plenty of whites that have been treated this way too. Obviously, there's a whole list, like 15, 20 of them whites that have been murdered by cops or whatever, but almost like literally they can pick anyone else and it would be maybe slightly better than George Floyd at least, right? Well, maybe.
Do you remember the guy's name? There was another white guy that was killed in the exact same fashion. Actually, I think was killed with the knee on the neck thing. It was, what is his name?
Tony Timpa?
That's the one. Thank you. Yes, Tony Timpa.
Tony Timpa. Yeah, there's a whole list of them. Yeah, Ryan Dawson sent me a list. Let me see if I can find that. He had like almost 15 on there or something. Let me see.
Wow.
I can rattle those off here. Let me see here.
Wow.
So here we go. Yeah, here it is. He said, I need a list of white police victims. A prominent podcaster is going to do a story. So far I have Kelly Thomas, Tony Timpa, Zachary Hammond, Daniel Shaver, Devin Guilford, Christian Glass, Joseph Sheldon Hutchison, Jeremy Martis, Kenneth French, Christopher Rupi, Lavoy Finkham. Yeah, that's
I remember him.
The Finkham family right there. I forget what they're called. Wiki Weaver. Yeah, Weaver, the Ruby Ridge victim, right? Isn't that what that is? The Weavers?
So,
Sarah Wilson. So that's just a few of them. Ryan Whitaker is another one. Yep.
They just have a whole list of victims and really no explanation there. And no mass marches, no funding to do anything about it.
No, nothing. No, that's fine. It's expected. I was just a white guy killed, so it means nothing.
It really says something. And I hope when this is all said and done and we all figure out how to put our foot down and stand up against all this crap, and we write the history of this, that we really formally document who did what and these extent of these crimes against our people, especially over the last few decades. It seems to have gotten way worse, at least domestically. It's crazy. It's just off the charts.
Yeah, we're going to need lists. That's what I'm putting it that way. We need lists, people to document this, write this up, create websites so have references. Don't trust social media. Don't just have it on social media. We need it on something that's a little bit more, something that just can't be removed or deleted. You know what I mean? Both the victims, but also people like they're doing stuff or statues that are taken down, all these things that they're erasing essentially needs to be memorized by our people. We need initiative and leadership and people, deciding to do something. Like if you're a person that can't go out, you can't attend events or you can be docs or, all these kinds of things. There's so many other things that people like that can engage in and do to help our fight, our fight.
100%. Everything from doing anonymous work to supporting people that are out there, whatever it takes. There's a lot of different options for sure. Hanrahan says, big salute to Henrik. Greetings from Finland. He said, Hail Sigur.
Nice.
He said, Henrik knows what that means. Hail Sigur.
What did he say?
Hail Sigur.
Hail
Sigur. Hail Sigur.
How do you spell it?
HELLSEGER. Hail Sigur.
Oh, yeah. Hail Sigur.
What does that mean?
Which means victory.
Swedish.
Seger, victory.
Hail victory.
So that's like that's like saying Sieg, right? SEIG. How do you spell it again? Sieg, Seger, Germanic word. I was going to say Sisu. That's what I was going to say back. All right.
So I found out you don't just speak Swedish.
Sisu.
You don't just speak Swedish, Henrik. You also speak German, huh?
I can somewhat get by, but it's a bit rusty. It was a long time ago, but if I get enough time, I can figure it out for the most part. And I'm not saying like by using Google, I'm saying like actually looking at the words and compositions of sentences and stuff, I can figure it out. But live in a conversation right there, that's a little bit more than just like your rudimentary, like, hey, where is this, where's that, or ordering something on a menu or something. I'm a bit rusty, but I can figure it out.
Sounds like my understanding of French. Lebensraum
There you
says,
go.
always a great show, but killing it with great co-host tonight. Thanks, fellas, for all you guys do for our people. / is Lebensraum. / to you, Lebensraum. And Ewan KD says, race blindness is a poison that prevents rational analysis. Our people are gaslit too easily. Fully agree.
Instinct, that's what it's about. Eradicating natural instincts.
Completely. It's funny because well, it's not funny. It's horrible. But it turns our people against their instincts, and when it does, it puts down the shields, it puts down the defenses, and it makes them subject to these attacks even more. Like this poor girl that was beat by this young black woman here. Her instincts were probably down. Her instincts were. She was convinced to suppress her instincts to not be afraid of girls like that, or associate with them and not think that there's any danger in that. But ultimately, that's how it turned out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if she's enough in those environments, if it's true what the critics of her said, that she's, around that, let me just put it that way. Obviously, her defenses would even be further down, but it's that classic that you get that, like, well, if you can't walk across the street if you see like a pack of, Africans coming with their hoodies on, and you get, again, your instinct, right? Your initial reaction is like, I don't get a good feeling. I gotta get a vibe from this. You know what I mean? Like, this, I better go across the street and like remove myself from this situation. If you don't have any friends with you, can't back that up or whatever. No, instead it's like, oh, well, you can't. What if someone thinks that you're racist? You should sacrifice your life, potentially. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it's your lucky day and it won't happen. But it could also be. But the point is, then you need to sacrifice your life potentially for not hurting the emotions of one of these, or the fifis of one of these people, or people take that lightly, I guess. But yeah,
yeah. What an insane imbalance of power, and what a skewed system where they're encouraging you to even do that. It's unbelievable. Linda Fake, Home of the Gay, says, great guest and great host. Sorry for the shameless self-promotion, but please remember to check out soundboardstation.com. Got your free plug there. He says, or not free, I guess, but your plug there. The payment processing already works, and I'm adding new features every day. Thank you for your hard work, Nick. Thank you. Salute. Linda Fake, I will check that out. Like I told you, man, you got to get it integrated into these deals. You get it integrated into there, you'll have a true product that will absolutely sell. You got to get it on your Stream Deck integration.
Stream Deck. Yeah.
There you go. I'll do it.
Yep.
Slick Willie says, every one of our women harmed is tragic, and this is why the KKK was founded. The impulse to defend the women of your tribe has existed as long as our species, and the idea of not doing it is death to any group. Yeah, I agree. That instinct is something that has given rise to things like that. And now, like you said earlier about them writing our history, our enemy writing our history. Well, any kind of group like that, they only put in the most harsh and nefarious light possible. And, I'm sure they did do some nefarious deeds, there's no doubt, but I'm sure they did a lot of good ones too. And they just, any kind of good that was ever done is just right out. I mean, of course we know this is the thing with the World War II and the National Socialist side. It's like, those people never did a good thing ever. They're monsters from another dimension kind of depiction of them. And that's what happens when they steal your history. But that's a kind of a good segue to something else I wanted to talk about, something that impacts both of us, actually. Odyssey's starting to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. You hear about this one?
Yeah, I've heard about the Cardano, right? So are they going to, let me see here. What is the largest Web3 media platform in the world, and it will decide to build on Cardano or Airwave. Yeah, market cap, I hope to make a decision soon. Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure much about Airwave or Weave. Arweave, is that how you pronounce that?
I think Arweave.
Cardano I've heard about. I held some Cardano for a while. That would be interesting, and it would be even better if they convert their library tokens over to Cardano if and when they do that. Because we've gotten so many donos and library tokens, and I'm like, is it worthless now, or what do I do with it? It's not worth anything.
No, when they got sued and it was actually literally worthless, I just kind of blocked them by setting the minimum to like 1,000 because it's like, it's not worth anything. So I just blocked them. But
yeah,
no, it'd be great if they did convert them, because that would be just something that we could. I mean, we'd probably be a little bit rich. But there's some interesting things about this Airwave or Arweave thing. This is it says permanent information storage. So they had some really kind of clever things about this, and the idea is they're trying to kind of code the code the media into the ledger and into the blockchain so that it really can't be destroyed. And I was
but
looking
not
at
the video data, though, right? Would be.
I've
heard of them doing like metadata or something like that. But if they can do the actual like video, I mean, again, it's just data, but it's a lot of it, right? It's a lot of storage or whatever. But look, if there's reasonably, if it's on, well, what do you need? Servers? I guess you need storage servers or something. Maybe it's doable.
I think their idea is to make it like
ultimate
P2P, right? So that it's always going, it's sustained by the network of all these different computers accessing it and transmitting it all at the same time. So that if one computer or one server goes down, there's still 500 others and that sort of thing. But this is from the Arweave company. It says connecting our past with our future. They had another video, a promotional one that was kind of cringy, and it started with the Nazis burned the books kind of crap, but they just didn't say which ones, of course. But so I didn't include that one.
Save the tranny books.
Right.
Put them on Arweave.
We need to have that forever. Absolutely.
Oh shit.
It does look promising.
Actually, this is a bad idea. No, let's not do this.
Right. No, we'll get stuck with it, man, forever. The transsexual propaganda books.
I mean, not to take a cringe libertarian view, but I guess you don't have to look at it, at least. Right?
No, it's interesting.
I'll say this: it's better to have. I'll take it if you have then all information on it. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like have the bad stuff as well, and we know what the real bad stuff is. But I'm saying, like have everything on there, and then you can actually have people making the choice. I'm not against that. Is there stuff that should, if I had the power, I would censor? Of course, But since I don't have that, I'd rather have just full access and equal, opportunity or whatever to get access to that information, as opposed to someone else controlling it.
No, that's 100%. I think that if we really just let our stuff be equally represented with their stuff, I believe we'd win. I mean, that generally happens whenever we're on an even slightly not skewed playing field. Like, even when Twitter did that sort of turnover, there was a little period of time where it wasn't really still leaned on a little bit. It was like a little window. And you just saw it. You saw it absolutely happen. They just lost argument after argument after argument. And they can't hold their own. They need censorship to hold up that sort of global homo leftist worldview. Without that, it just dies under its own analysis.
Yep, that's right. I'm reading the subtitles here.
Sorry, I can turn it on. I was just gonna.
Okay.
For the first example, than the internet.
Anglo's behind it. That's it. I'm out.
Anglos, no.
We have never been more connected.
Well, kind of.
Felt closer
sort of.
Far off lands.
Her name was India.
Yeah.
The real Aryans. Am I right?
We got the Jeet takeover.
The internet's impact on our lives is undeniable. Instant connection over vast distances, knowledge at the press of a button, but it lacks the ability to help us communicate over vast periods of time. The ephemeral and fragile nature of the internet is why we created the Arweave. Humans have always attempted to communicate with the future, to leave an imprint for their descendants, from cave walls to stone tablets and vast libraries. But we've
at least it has white people.
These limits. For the first time, we have the technology to safeguard our stories, our history, and even our applications, to connect our past to our future in a permanent and immutable way. Imagine if we had access to every book,
Pause for a second, if you can. I just want to reflect on that. Like, okay, like, sure, bro, I get it, but like, if it's digital, it can be fried. Like, it's just the nature of it. Like, there has to be another. You actually have to have. I mean, this is literally why our ancestors, they carved in stone, and even that's not, of course, foolproof, right? We'll lose things, but this, I get it. They're techie people or whatever, but like basing it on this assumption that we'll always have electricity the way we do it now and always have access to these servers or something. It's kind of like, all right, okay, this sounds grand or whatever. I mean, I'm not against, if we can, try it, whatever, but it's definitely not guaranteeing any kind of storage of our knowledge or information over a long enough time period. Hey, we can have literally like a solar flare, an X-class CME in the wrong direction, and that'd be it. It would be fried. It's over. So maybe barring they have some kind of technology to solve that, this is a little shaky, but whatever.
No, I know what you mean. There's a kind of a corporate bent to it, and a little bit sort of a like, oh, we're going to solve all the things, all the problems will be solved, and I have a doubtfulness to it too, but I do have hope for this kind of stuff. I think one of these things will stick well enough to at least be like a video platform, maybe not solve the world's communication problems, but like we just have a video platform with no censorship, please.
I mean, it could be any information technically, right? Like it could just be, it could be books, it could be, anything. And like if you want to, secure it in the sense that, again, that ideal would be, blockchain or whatever. And it's done in such a way that no one can alter or censor it or remove it, right? But that would just be filled up with like child porn right away. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's what's going to happen. So then, okay, well we can't have that. And then all right, well then I'm not saying that because I'm like we have to allow that. No, I agree. But what I'm saying, just from a mental exercise point of view, like as soon as you go down that path, then like, well, and also we can't have Hitler speeches on there, and also we can't, I mean, and then here we go. So
No, that's an interesting thing. Like, it really has to have at least some basic sort of rules like that, like almost like a 10 Commandments, like thou shalt not abuse children, thou shalt not abuse, that kind of thing. Like,
it's basic stuff, right? You think,
right.
It can be like any political material. It could be anything. But again, then they roll. Well, that led to the Holocaust, so that hurting people, and so I mean. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, no, I'm shooting this down right away here, but that's what you want to do, though, right? You want to try to poke holes at it immediately, essentially, and say, well, does it hold up? Does it stand? If they can pull it off, great. You know what I mean? But will they? We'll see.
Well, I mean, as you yourself has been subjected to a number of times, the weakness is never really so much hosting the information as it is always the financialization option. That's what they can always do is yank the money aspect. So no super chats, debanked, monetized. It's always that aspect. That's always the weak spot. And there's so many sites have set up these private services for this stuff, but that's always the weak spot. It somehow has to back up into this international banking system. And as long as that's the case, we're out of luck.
Well, again, that's why I've been a crypto enthusiast. And some people are suspicious of it, and I totally understand that or whatever. But if it's something you can use for a while, sure, great. But what's happening now with that is interesting, the on and off ramp thing that basically most of them are now banning and blocking people, And there's still, of course, many options out there, but eventually, essentially, they'll have some like list, like, oh, if you want to be established exchange or on and off ramp or whatever, you have to like follow these criteria, otherwise you'll be shut down, and then we're back in the same position again. Barring that you can like literally, and I know some services have that now, right? They're like a credit card, and you pay using whatever crypto you actually have on your account type thing. But there's always some big bank, fingers there, you know what I mean? And always someone that can meddle. And that's even, it's not proving to be a problem for all this crypto technology, that you still have intermediaries there that is then essentially, they're not maybe preventing you from accessing your crypto, but if you want to use those cryptos and actually buy something for them, there's someone going to stand in the way now for you,
Absolutely. This is something that has been suggested, but the thing about this is I don't think this could work. Chain Reaction suggests this in chat. I don't think this could work, though, for video or something complex like that. That's the issue. You had a little image of it, the LoRa thing. It might work for just, messages, but I don't think you could do anything with like video. I mean, this kind of thing, forget it. I mean, we're sending, quite a bit of data, so I think you wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah.
That's not it, but
LoRa, what does that stand for?
It's a long-range mesh network. Yep.
Long range? Okay, yeah, okay. Long-range mesh network, okay.
Right.
Okay, long range, but short. So it's not short wave, then obviously, because it's long range, but...
254 kilometers recorded by KVox Labs. No phone required. Decentralized communication, no dedicated router required. Encrypted, excellent battery life, send and receive. Messages between members of the mesh. Optional GPS based on location features and more. How it works, and it goes into the details.
Was that a router at the end of that graph you showed there?
Oh, yeah, let's play
what was that? Or was that just a Bluetooth? I don't know how those works. Those radio communication stuff. But yeah, USB, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth to the computer there he's showing.
Yeah,
they are showing. I wonder if
basically looks like you're Bluetoothing your phone to this thing, and they're transmitting to each other, and then I guess they're transmitting.
But they can extend it to other networks.
Yeah,
I guess to other devices then. And if you have enough of those devices, you can go even longer distances, I assume. What about the speed would be? Maybe they said there, but okay, all right. Well, interesting. Sure, options. Why not?
Yeah. I just say explore it all, right?
Before, of course, yeah. Backup system, redundancy, yeah, for sure.
Nothing wrong with having as many options as possible, for sure. No. Well, I do hope Odyssey works out and they pick one that's good. This is Airwave Network is like Bitcoin, but for data, a permanent and decentralized web inside an open ledger, permanent storage as many applications, blah, blah, blah. Protocol is stable, mature, and widely adopted. As such, its ecosystem is fully decentralized. The site is just the tip of the iceberg. It acts as a map that points you to places you can learn about, use, and build on Airwave. That's kind of what Odyssey is. I mean, Odyssey is really LBRY blockchain presented in a way that you can interface with it in not a non kind of messy way, I guess.
But the video files are still on like a server. They're not like split up and like it takes all these pieces and puts it together and here's the video file. This sounds a little bit more like it's like if it's data, yeah, you can do anything, right? So yeah, you can do video on there too.
Somebody else
interesting
suggested Ace Stream. See, it's the thing, right? Is like they have all these things and they work as a means of transmitting video. I even there was a crypto, it's called like Media. It's just called Media. I tried it myself. I put the stream up on there once. And it works, but then you need your chat, you need super chats, you need a directory of all these people that are doing it so that you can find other people that you'd be interested in. So there's a lot there, a lot to make a platform, right? It's not merely video and a chat, right? It's kind of the trouble.
Yeah, Ace Stream. I don't think I've heard without a CDN. Okay, interesting. Yeah, send me the link to that later if you can.
Oh yeah,
if you
absolutely.
remember. That'd be interesting. Ace Stream. Maybe I can let me just pull it up.
I'll just drop.
How do you search again? I'm being a boomer over here. Ace Stream. I have to have the direct link, or it's not going to work. I can't go to acestream.org.
Somebody help Henrik! Help him! Okay.
Get help me! That's it. It's over. No Ace Stream for me.
It's pretty cool. I wonder what's like. Say let's go to broadcasters. Let's see if they have a list. But see, that's the thing. I think they don't have a list, do they?
To start broadcasting, you need to install the Ace Stream Engine software. Okay. There's no special software for broadcasting, but so this is just live then, or is it actually storing? Let's see.
Watch live broadcasts over the internet with the highest level of audiovisual quality and streaming stability that rivals satellite and cable TV. Well, that sounds appealing. Play online video audio on any torrent trackers. It is original quality with downloading torrents and is waiting for the content to download.
Okay, so again, it's peer to peer. Okay.
Yeah. So the only thing about this,
check it out.
This stuff is like the technology is actually not bad. Like I was telling you about the media when I tested it, it looked like good quality for the AV, but then you need the directory, you need the chat, and you need the super chats. Like those are the three extra curriculars that need to be tacked on. Otherwise, you don't really have an alternative system, right?
Yeah, and it's also that you like here you just put it here, right, as you said, but there's no one there, or they don't know how to access it, or what I mean, like there's those types of things, right? So I mean, sure, if they have an embed function or something, like sure, then you could put it on your websites or something, or you share links presumably or something. But anyway, I don't know enough about it yet to make some really informed decision, but it looks interesting. So thanks for the tip on that.
Absolutely. I think the promise for something like this is like if you wanted to say embed your stream into Redice.tv, you could kind of have that be the thing that hosts it. I guess would be that's what I'm kind of getting from this.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I do hope Odyssey works out, but there's some interesting development on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they did. They said that maybe you were on our show then, but they had we bought ourselves. Remember that? They said that?
Yeah, they did.
I was like, oh, okay, but great. Kind of thing, but at least they started tweeting, I guess, again. And they're obviously working on updates here and there. And so, it's going, which is great. But I wish there was a little bit more info, like, okay, well, who bought it? What's the plan? Who's running it? But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Also,
it looks promising so far anyway. So
I read on their Twitter today that they're going to make an announcement in June, and then a preliminary one, and then another one in July, I think. So if I remember what I read correctly, so that's promising. I was wanting that for a while. I wanted to know like what the heck's going on here, boys. Like a lot of us, this is a big part of our living.
Just say something.
Just
say something. Are you moving ahead? Or are you not? You know.
Exactly.
But it looks like it's a go. So that's a good sign. And they do for the most part anyway. But I think. Free speech, right? There was a couple of exceptions, but it's always someone that gets banned, isn't it?
Well, the interesting thing about that is the only one I can really think of. Actually, I can think of two. I can think of Handsome Truth and Black Crimes Matter. I think were both banned. As far as content producers,
wasn't Alex Jones booted off of that? Or am I thinking of DLive? Maybe I'm confusing that. Maybe Alex Jones is on there.
Okay, Alex Jones is still on Odyssey. No, he's still on.
Odyssey. Okay, all right, okay, yeah, that's my mistake then.
I think in the case of Handsome Truth, I don't think they kicked him off for what he said or did so much as I think they kicked him off because he was a lightning rod for DDoS attacks. And the site was getting hit like every day.
Really?
Bam, 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 bam. And they're like, okay, this is a business decision, I think it was like, do we, keep this business working or do we host this guy? So I think I think it wasn't personal. At least that's what I suspect. And several others do as well. But speaking of this, it's kind of a good segue. This is something Thomas Massie introduced today, and he's trying to push this through. I don't have a lot of faith it will work, but he's trying to put a bill to end taxpayer funding of online censorship. Since Twitter files showed the government colluded with private companies and universities to violate the First Amendment, Congress must use the power of the purse to end this unconstitutional activity.
So this is separate from the End the Fed bill. Didn't he introduce a bill for that? The End the Fed to Massey?
Yeah.
Judging from the APAC attack, I'm like, he seems pretty good. Did you see that? Yep, there you go. You have it. This is hilarious.
Yeah, it's great.
The Holy Land.
The Holy Land. Evil bad guys.
Go back from the beginning. People have to hear that. That's the best part of it in the beginning there. Israel,
the Holy Land, under attack. And Congressman Tom Massey.
I love that part.
Republicans are trying to help Israel, but one Republican is standing in the way. It's Kentucky's Tom Massey. 15 times in April, Massey was the only Republican voting with anti-Israel radicals. Massey's votes, helpful for Iran, harmful to Israel. Everyone who cares about the Holy Land needs to know Tom Massey is hostile to Israel.
United Democracy
to the Holy Land.
For the content of this advertising.
Do you know who the United...
and then the Lispy guy comes in at the end. That was my good. The Holy Land. And I don't know the interesting combo there, but anyway, it's funny.
I want to know.
This is an endorsement. This is great. Yeah. Did you hear that though? 15 times in April alone, Israel bills. Shit for Israel. 15 times. How many times did they vote to try to shut down the border or do anything for Americans? None. In the last few years? 15 bills just in April. Yeah. What an admission. Wow.
Well, they actually had that. They had another border bill, and it just came out that it failed. It failed. What was this
there
one?
You go.
Yep. That border bill fails again on Capitol Hill amid political disputes and criticism. So they can't even get stuff done for this country, but they're just up in arms when somebody doesn't bend over backwards to help Israel.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, again, it's like kind of that's all they have. It's almost like the Talib, AOC, maybe the squad, right? That's kind of like the only they have that as kind of it's almost beneficial to them. You know what I mean? To have them there. Because then the MAGA conservatives can go, those are the woke bad guys, kind of thing. Right. And you get this like real easy dichotomy that you can almost like use them for whatever thing you actually want to make sure that is passed or something. But anyway, again, if there's anything that's their one redeeming quality is that at least on that question, they're good, but that's about it. Otherwise but again, for all the wrong reasons, right? Because they're taking that position because they're brown people and they're anti-white. That's why they're taking that position,
No, completely. I think it's just part of the general Finkelthink dynamic they've set up, right? Where they just set those people up as the bad guys from the mainstream perspective and then just make them do the things against Israel and then have all the evangelical Christian Zionist kind of segment, a sort of heartland pastors turn against them and make them out to be the bad guy and direct all the bad energy, so to speak, towards them. And it creates this dynamic that they can work with, and they do a lot. They can set up people that are against that as a hero. Did you see this one? This one was absolutely mind-blowing. Where did she go? Oh, yeah, this one. she's out of her mind.
Oh yeah.
This is
Stefanik.
Stefanik, I mean, wow, what do they have on her? Oh my God, this has got to be more than a bribe, right?
I think they're true. It's not that they're not making money on this stuff, right? Obviously, you could pull up APEC Tracker and Stefanik or something, and I'm sure we'll get how much money she actually made or something or from them. But I genuinely think they're true believers. I think you cannot discount the religious aspect of this, that they become ideologically and religiously tied to taking these kinds of positions, which makes it, again, just even that much more dangerous. Because now it's not only about the money. That's bad enough with the money, but now you have someone who's like, hypnotized by Israel because, God said so, essentially, or whatever, my Hebrew Bible said so, and so therefore this is just what we have to do. Maybe she's paying them money to be there. I mean, who knows with this, how bad this really is.
I actually did find it. She's getting a little more than almost $500,000. Yeah, almost,
there you go.
That's the
yeah.
It's
not a bad,
almost 600
bad amount there.
That's crazy.
Yep, there you go. I
knew
she's
new.
They're all in the pockets of these people. Exactly. There's some people that are like been there for years and they have like 200,000, which again, it's bad enough. But yeah, she's like brand spanking new in there. They already like $600,000. Holy shit!
You got Biden getting 11 million. Yeah,
not surprised. And people are like, oh, he's anti-Israel. I was like, really, really? Nah, don't think so.
We don't have
another $1 billion in arms sales to Israel, by the way, too. So,
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any anti-Israel politicians, really. I think the most you can do, really, is those Muslim ones who can't get voted out because of that ethnic solidarity in their
demographic.
In their area, the demographics, right? But you have that's about as far as you can go. Maybe Tom Massey kind of thing, being like, I'm not going to vote for that. I'm going to just abstain. But we don't have any truly anti ones. Like the last one was Toronto. That's the. What is his name? He died with the strange tractor accident. That guy, I forget what his name was. It starts with a T, though. Somebody in chat will know. And Cynthia McKinney was a black woman. She was trying to go into the legislature, and what happened? They said, you're going to sign this loyalty to Israel pledge. And she said, I'm going to sign what now? She comes out. They of course dump tons of funds onto her opponent. They flush her right out of the system. She comes out and reveals all this stuff. And I mean, come on. I mean, when we say it's a Zog, a Zionist-occupied government, that's supposed to be some sort of anti-Semitic conspiracy theory or something. But I mean, how much evidence do you need exactly? Like, what else would you call this? All right, a trafficant. Thank you, Henrik. Yes, trafficant.
Oh, trafficante.
Trafficant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, traffic. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's like what is that? Late 90s? Or maybe early 2000s? When did he die? Maybe early 2000s. I forget now. Yeah, he exposed like CIA drug running and that kind of shit, right? If we're thinking about the same person here.
Yeah.
Trafficante, what's his name again?
Yeah, Jim Trafficant. James Trafficant. Traficant. Thank you, chat.
James, yeah, was that what it was?
Black Pill.
James.
I'll read a couple of these real quick. Black Pill says, salute sir, he says, I feel like back in the day when it was Henrik, Dawson, TRS, Adam Green, Black Pilled, all. That was such a great eye-opener to learn about our greatest allies and what it meant to be white. Thank you. I agree. Those are some of the Mount Rushmore of
nostalgia here. Yeah,
exactly. He also continues. He says, "What are the chances of a more unified effort between the streamers to address this new phase of crisis, like a historical view of what our people did to survive this last time it happened?" An interesting idea. I kind of like that. What do you think about that?
Last time it happened?
Yeah, I'm wondering exactly about that too, though. What exactly do you mean by that? I guess because we have kind of a different kind of crisis in a way. I mean, let's see. I mean, what does he mean exactly by that? I guess he means being occupied as an occupied power. What he means? Yeah, let me clarify for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah. Well, the point is you got to have you got to have unity. Absolutely. You got to pull in the same direction, and for the most much as you can, look at the points that unify you, and keep moving in those directions and push forward. I'll just look up Trafficante here. I
can. Pull it.
Oh no, that's in office to 2002. Sorry, I'm just gonna look. When was he? Oh, here we go. Trafficante died on September 27th, 2014.
Yep.
Following a tractor accident at his farm in Green Township, Ohio. course, those tractor accidents.
Yeah,
he talked a lot of shit. This guy, I mean, in a good way, right? You know, like there's clips of him out there exposing. I think it was like the FBI, CIA, or something. You know, like drug trafficking and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, he's an interesting guy for sure. Anyway.
Seriously injured in a tractor. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Patton died, right? General Patton comes out after World War II, says, we fought the wrong enemy. We should have been on the other side fighting the communists. All of a sudden, he gets a strange car accident, and then, oh, no,
Jeep
the
accident
hospital doesn't work. Oh, yeah. That's just weird accidents. A lot of coincidences around here.
Yes.
Goose Steppenwolf says, Trafficant was the last politician we had with balls until he mysteriously died on a small tractor on flat land on a farm he grew up on his whole life. He says, Mossad! Yeah, might be.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine how even you die of a tractor accident. I mean, I guess you could like go on a hill and then it flops over on top of you, I suppose. And how else would that work?
The machines, a text message was sent out September 26th. This is a few days after, 2 days after, right? By Jim Condit Jr. I remember that rings a bell. Is he still around? Did he die too? He was the Constitution Party candidate for Ohio's 8th Congressional District and a close friend to Trafficante. He had been traveling with him to help to promote Project Freedom USA. The text message stated that, quote, the machines were disconnected at 2 p.m. Friday. He is still breathing. Thousands are praying. And then 1 day later, Trafficante died at a hospice in Portland, Ohio, Poland, Ohio, aged 73. Let's see here. By September 29th, Trafficante's body had been buried in an undisclosed location. Oh, okay. It's okay. I was like, what? Oh. Okay, after the family had requested a private funeral. Okay, I should have continued reading. That was bizarre.
It's a live show.
Yeah, so there was no public funeral for him. Okay, anyway. Yeah, people can look up Trafficante on YouTube. There's, I think, still some good clips there with him.
So does it say what caused it, though? Because I'm not seeing it. It says subsequent medical investigation determined Trafficant had not had a heart attack or seizure before the accident, was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So how are you going to die in a fucking accident on a tractor? What, did it blow up? Come on now.
Obviously, it fell over on you.
Oh, Mossad dropped the tractor on him from a helicopter.
Obviously. All the kids that usually tip over cows came, and they just tip over the tractor.
Right. It's
Ohio, on the countryside.
Yeah, it says a forensic pathologist who conducted the examination attributed his death to positional asphyxiation, stating that he had been unable to breathe because of the weight of the tractor on top of him. Okay, but how does the tractor get on top of him in the first place? I guess it rolled over, is it trying to say? Come on. It's a lot of belief. Yeah. There's a lot of good faith you have to give them to get this to work. Sounds like other things that we're supposed to believe in. Kind of ridiculous.
Yep.
He was quite a guy, though. He had some really good some really good takes on Israel, and let's try Israel to see what it says.
Oh yeah.
I'm
reading about him here.
Yeah, I was saying this stuff in advance here. Let's see if it says here.
Yeah, there are a couple of classic clips here.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's a good one right there.
There it is. Israel has a stranglehold on Congress.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars of which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted. And if they don't beat you at the poll, they'll put you in prison. It's an objective assessment that no one will have the courage to speak about. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They pushed definitely to try and get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress. They own the Congress.
Are you an anti-Semite?
No, I'm not.
Fox News. Thank you, Fox News. Immediately.
Intellectual explanation.
Don't you hear what I'm saying? It's what the fuck.
This is. It's such a.
What do you mean? They're doing all these bad things. You're not against the bad people, are you? Yes, I am. That's all you have to say, or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Call me whatever childish name you want, but I don't like corrupt, evil people that abuse power. So I don't care what kindergarten names you call me.
You can call it whatever you want.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
To Paladin's clarification, he says there is a wider demographic out here that is more interested in community building, tactics, stuff that works. We get it. Jews bad. Okay. We can't keep stroking it to David Lane vids. Well, that's true. You're not wrong. We have to move to. I think what he's saying is we have to move to the point of establishing strategies for moving forward. And I think he's right about that too. We all kind of agree 100%. That like America's occupied. They're doing bad things to us. Our demographics are screwed. We're under attack from all these other groups that hate us. This is all very much established. We're all on the same page. Okay, now what? That's a reasonable expectation, and I think all of our audiences, are going to start to want to know, like, what are we going to do now? What's the strategy? Mm-hmm. And I think he makes a good point. Maybe we all have to kind of get together, have like the round tables or something, and start to like brainstorm some actual solutions. We have established some. Like you guys have a pretty good kind of base up there in the northern Idaho regions. A lot of good people up there.
Very good. Yeah, there's tons of people up here, and we encourage people to, if they can make it or whatever, definitely do it. Get together, form community. That's what we're doing here. We're building that. We're trying to, and we're keeping there also. It's not a. I mean, I'm saying it's out there, but I'm saying it's not like some advertise. Like what I mean. We also need more people. Just kind of. It's a hard thing because you got to say something about it in order to attract people, but then at the same time, how you advertise that. You know what I mean? This is not a. No logos or names. These are just like good people, families, and people getting together and building those networks and ensuring that we're taking care of each other and helping each other. Those kinds of things. And you need more of that to begin with. But there's plenty of others. Whether it's activating, political interest groups, pushing in that direction. I still think personally, I'm torn on it. Like, it's not for me. I would never do that. It doesn't work. But I would never discourage anybody. Like, no, don't try to get political power or anything like that. Ultimately, that's what we need. We need people to stay in cities. I don't want to raise my kids like that. That's just kind of what it is. But for those that are in a position where maybe they don't have families yet or something, right? I mean, they want to be in a big city and try to attain political power, or be in a position where they're have influence over big corporations or whatever. Like, we need more people like that. We can't just also disengage from society and then expect, because eventually, it's already the case. We have enemies, but I'm saying like even other ethnic groups that are not even well established in many of Western countries will just step in there and take those positions from us. And eventually they'll control the levers of power, of government, of ultimately military, and they can turn that against us at any time. We can't concede any ground. I know it's super hard, right? But it's almost down to like, what are people good at? What do they want to do? What are they attracted to? Because I still think it's a multi-pronged effort. It's a many different fronts at the same time. Fight legally, fight politically. You need some people to step away and just like form more rural communities and establish a base there too. You know what I mean? We need as many as possible. This is what we need. It's not about winning everyone over, but we also need more people on our side and numbers or whatever. So yeah, it's something we're thinking about all the time. Like, what's the best course of action? How do we do it? Personally, for me, I'm not a Patriot Front kind of guy. You know what I mean? It's just not, it's not my forte to like run an organization like that or even be a member. We do what we do. We try to wake people up. We're focusing on our media stuff and whatever. And we take,
I think we're too old, Henrik,
risks.
Both of us.
Probably. Yeah. Which, you take risks in other ways, but you also need people that are just like on our page, agree with us, but they're also just kind of smart, and they just stay silent, and they still operate within the system, and they're there if and when the right opportunity comes. You know what I mean? We need all of it. There's not going to be one path forward. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm not saying that that's what the super chatter was saying there, obviously, but I'm saying, we need to just like, yes, in the actual true sense of the word, diversify, and having many different, strategies and approaches, because one of them might be the successful one, or a few of them will be. You know what I mean? So it depends a lot on where the passion is. Like, what do you feel like doing? What's your drive? What's your motivation? What do you feel passionate about doing? And that's what ultimately people should do. Don't force it. Don't try to do something that kind of goes against your natural, properties or talents, I guess a better term. If you have talent for something, work on that. I mean, there's some people that were like, they'll be good at doing, cultural things, essentially like producing culture, or the metapolitical battle or whatever. I mean, there's other types of things as well, which is people that we need. We need artists. We need people to do music that's from us and by us, and all those kinds of things, right? And we want them to be successful. That's the other thing. There's always this like, I'm sometimes, and I'm directing this at anybody, but there's like this sometimes this. Well, you can't do that. All of us need to be, put on the boots and out on the ground, out on the ground and do marches and handing out flyers and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not in no way against people that do stuff like that,
right?
But we can't all do that as well. You know what I mean? Like, there's other things that needs to be done. And we have many different pieces of that puzzle that needs to be kind of put together. And you support the people that you like. You do what you can. And if there's people that are like hiding within the system or they're successful, it's better that they remain there, I think, personally, and be quiet than just putting themselves, at least at this point, right? Putting themselves on the line or risking being doxxed and then by fired, and then they lose access to that influence that they might have in whatever position they are within society. We need to be smarter than that. We need to be running a conspiracy. We need to look at, like, I'm not saying we should have some like gay Freemason thing, but I'm saying like we need to be better at like doing things secretly too. It's always this, we got to be public about this is what we want. Why do our enemies have? I mean, now they're kind of operating like that, but they didn't for decades and decades. While they were gaining power, while they were taking over power, they weren't, for the most part anyway, out in the open about what they were doing. And we have this propensity, we have to like just blabber about everything all the time, blah, blah, blah. Like, do it secretly. You don't have to say immediately what your end goal is. Just do a tippy-toe tactic, form organizations, groups, interest groups. We need, we need professional people involved, people that have means, people that have resources. We need people that are industrious, like all kinds need to come to our side. And ultimately, if we don't, share information about, what is happening to us and get the word out, we'll not be able to reach any of those people, essentially,
No, very well.
So that's how I see personally that's how I see my role in that, at least at this point, kind of thing. Like, yeah, we're doing things locally here, forming, community. We organize, we're doing things. We do many things. But there's no reason for us to just, be out there blabbing about what that is. It's just not, wouldn't benefit anything right now. But then later, those, you need node points and groups like that everywhere, all over the place. You know what I mean?
It would actually,
and there's other people that are,
it would actually be tactically unwise in some cases for you guys to advertise some of the things you might be doing, and that goes for everybody. Like you were saying, some of it has to be tactical, strategic, carefully calculated. And, if you just announce everything you're going to do for, nationalist brownie points and upcomies, I think that's dangerous, Some of these, so some of this stuff needs to go sub rosa. It needs to be careful. And
that's correct.
Our enemies did that stuff,
correct. Yep, that's correct. Yeah, yes. So that's what I'm encouraging too. People out there, like, run a conspiracy. Look at how secret societies did it, and do it that way. Again, I'm not even, do exactly do it like that, but what I'm saying, like, I'm saying, you don't need secret handshakes or anything, but or like, these occult symbols or whatever. But I'm saying just, you work behind shadows. You schmooze, whatever. Like, get anyone involved in those kinds of things that you're into. Find the right people around you that are willing, right? That understand, willing to listen to you, able to cooperate with you and stuff like that. And that's hard, because I get it. Like, at some point you also have to, as I said before, you have to show enough, not interest, but you have to reveal enough to attract people to it. But then you can't reveal too much until you know that there's people you can trust. So it's not always a very straightforward answer or like a method to how to do those things. Which is, again, why I'll return to that. We need many different tactics. We need many different approaches. We need people trying different things in order to kind of come to a realization of what is successful. and why is something successful, and how does that work, and how do we build those kind of foundations? We need curriculum for like younger people. How do we pass on information about this? How do we ensure that people, how do we ensure even that people 200 years from now, who are our descendants in some cases, like that what we think is passed on to them, you know, things like that. You know what I mean?
No, completely. It's
a lot of questions.
Well, it's important, you know, and to break it down into little pieces, that actually helps people understand how multifaceted it is, what we need to do. And it's going to take a lot of discipline, but what else is there to do? You know, what other thing is there to do in life? I mean, what's the alternative? To just basically be a materialist that seeks power and like wealth and sex, basically. You could be like Dan Bilzerian kind of guy. You could be that's the other like passionate mission you could have in life. A better mission is to do what we kind of want to do, which is building an alternative to a corrupted world, have people come into that are good people, and build something better and something healthier and something saner. And I think that's a better contribution. And when we're all lying on our deathbed, we'll think, that was a good ride and it was a good mission. Instead of thinking like, well, I got money and fucked bitches. It's like what, you know, what's the existential win in that? I get the general male conquest value of that for somebody, but ultimately, what's the contribution of that? What's your legacy in that? It's just you. You know?
I mean, most people are not there in their mindset. They don't even know like that there's a war on them, and if they ever have kids, if they're white, they'll be targeted for who they are. Most people don't even know that. They don't understand that. They might not even agree with it, maybe until you can like explain to them how it will hurt their kids or something like that. But most people don't even. You know what I'm saying, like we haven't even started like really fighting back yet, because we're as someone said, I forget who said, but like we're not even a people yet. We've been so deracinated and so torn down and taken down by all these different aspects through not only decades. I'd go back hundreds of years, in fact, in some of our countries, and we're just like kind of patching this up kind of as we go. There's no curriculum. There's no set method for any of this. We're kind of blind in the dark, and of course that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, what do we, how do we do this, right? How do we? What's the best course of action? How do we move forward? There are some wiser elders of sorts, right, in these types of circles, obviously, but at the same time, even they are, I'd say, very much in the same predicament. They're also trying to kind of figure it out as they go and see what the best course of action and method is. But the point is, there's always a lot of this like kind of people get disheartened, right? Because there isn't like immediately someone that just shows up and show them the solution for what it is. And it's not always going to be that simple. But as you said, most people don't even know that this is a factor yet. And if they were to understand what is happening, yes, they might very well be people that would be allied to us, that'd be joining us in the fight, or they understand that this is a higher purpose. It's something that goes beyond them and even their own life. And one day, and not that this is the reason for it, obviously, but like you need that kind of like, some people need that. You need to appeal to that like, hey, look, if you do this right, like one day there'll be statues of you. And it's not because like you're thinking of the statue, but you see what I'm saying? Like appreciation, right? A thanks for the fact that like these guys try to do something, they try to fight back. And even if you're beginning in the early steps of this and just like trying to wrap our head around it and see what best course of action is here. But the important things is we're just beginning. The wheels are just beginning to like turn essentially on this front, really. And organization will come. More people will join our side. They're beginning to see things are changing, and it can change very, very quickly once we get the right people involved, once we get momentum built up, and once we get, I'm not going to say credibility, because that's not always what it's been about either, right? But there are political parties in European countries, and certainly there's a lot of problems with them and stuff like that, but it's a good indicator of where things are going, right? When like our establishment is lashing out, and like and Ursula von der Leyen, I covered that today, of how she's like encouraging essentially like banning of like the AfD and stuff like this. Like, we got to shut these political parties down to save democracy, TM, kind of thing. And you realize it's like, okay, you're on the right, they're on the right path. They're doing something right. Again, it's the early stages. And sometimes I feel too, a lot of people, they think it needs to be perfect right away. Kind of about here's something, you know what I mean? Right. That was a religious. You need to be immaculate and perfect right away. Otherwise, I won't support it. Yeah. And like, if you think like that, you'll never even get off the ground, kind of thing. You do the best you can. You support those who are at least initiating the process. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, but don't let that stop you. Do what you can, and that will gain momentum, and better things will evolve or come out of those things.
Extremely well said. I mean, that's exactly it. I think people have to just, they have to follow their instincts, and they have to follow their sense of right and wrong. But ultimately, we're going to have to work at this step by step. I think people are going to have to try to figure out how to organize our people. Because if you think about it, that's really the stuff that's missing, right? We have no organization. We have no real funding. I mean, we have people that are on our side that try, and God bless them. Thankful for them. They try, and but they're just working people too. They're not hedge fund multi-billionaires or what have you.
Right.
But eventually, we're gonna have to have a few of those show up somehow. But I think it will happen. I think it will happen because, like you said, more people are realizing this, and eventually, like some of these billionaires, they're white people too. And they have kids, and they're going to send their kids to these schools. And what condition are their kids going to be in? Like, what they're going to have to face all the same stuff that all of us working people have to face as well. So
they're isolated, right? That's the problem. Yeah. They're isolated of sorts. They're in a very insular environment, which is very safe and happy for the most part, anyway. And it's kind of rare, although I don't trust them, but it's kind of rare to have an Elon Musk on the level that he's at, where he's like, like today, I was like, oh, Asian women make more than white men, kind of like, I mean, he's tweeted about all kinds of things and posted about stuff. And it's like, again, I don't put my faith in him or whatever, but I'm saying that's indicative. Like, if he can roll around and say some of the kind of stuff that he said, does he put his money where his mouth? Maybe not yet. You know what I mean? There's the questions I have there. Like, I hope he's aware of, these political cases of persecution and stuff. And it's like, put some of your money behind these people, help them hire a lawyer, like, get some resources their way, help them out, kind of thing. And maybe he has, I just haven't seen that yet, but that's kind of what I'm waiting for. Actually, just more than words becoming into action. And that might never happen, because him and all he's involved in is just some gay op to get ahead of the trend and the curve, and ultimately kind of steer it or correct it. Look, anything is possible. So I shouldn't say that, but I still think it's good that the fact that even if you recognize that that's the case, even if you recognize, he's fake and he's phony, and excuse me, you can say the same thing about Trump then or whatever. Like, he'll just do good things are good for Israel or whatever. But even those people, or the people that control those people, have to do that because they're reacting to a wave that's coming from our side. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Which means that it's pushing in our direction, essentially. Now, I understand there's a danger in that, in the sense that, okay, then people just listen to the controlled opposition or the fake voices or whatever, and then it doesn't go further. There's a real danger in that.
Right.
But you also got to kind of, you can't just shoot yourself in the foot all the time and just say, well, like, oh, it's over or nothing. Right. It's all controlled ops and stuff. And it's like, you can have that realization, but still understand that there's a benefit in having those voices push in our direction. You know what I mean? And we got to learn to take a W sometimes, instead of just have this, kind of loser think. Right. You know what I mean? And understanding there's like, okay, well, clearly these are positive developments. Things are very different now than just a couple of years ago in terms of the rhetoric out there, at least, and the amount of people that are voting for nationalist parties in European politics. And, again, as bad as that is with Trump and MAGA, whatever, there was still an expression of that. It was still a mainstream establishment fear that a Donald Trump was awakening white identity. And as bad as it is, that is still true, and it remains a true factor. It doesn't mean I like him. I think it's highly suspicious. All this Israel, garbage is bullshit, but there's still a win in the fact that it's being pushed in that direction, and he's kind of being forced to a certain. He could be a million times better, so it's not that. But I'm saying he's still ultimately a consequence of a grassroots kind of push in that direction. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree, and I think you also make a good point in the whole thing about taking a W. I think these people, while they may not be our guys, they may not be fully on board with whatever our ideology is. I think the trouble is, it doesn't mean they're our enemy. They're not all of them are our enemy. Sometimes they can push things in our direction in a way that is beneficial. Even minor improvements, given how bad our situation is, actually, even minor improvements, like having a little bit more free speech on Twitter, that's quite a bit helpful. And the enemy doesn't like that. You can kind of tell. You can tell how helpful it is by their reaction, right, Henrik? Like, the more they freak out about it, the more it's actually probably helpful.
Yeah, the freak out is not always justified, and it's kind of an overreaction.
Right.
But ironically, even that then is something we can. Well, it's hard to say, right? But take it, Trump, and I've said this many times, but like they reacted to him like he was a white nationalist Nazi or something, kind of thing. The liberal establishment did, and that's not saying much because the bar is very low, and many of these people are they're not ultimately, they have voices, of course, right? But they're not ultimately the people in charge. So their shrieking doesn't mean that everyone is on their page about this kind of stuff. But it's still indicative of the fact that much of that liberal left-wing kind of establishment is reacting to this like it is like he's bringing back white identitarianism. And so they then go and enforce certain things or certain policies or try to influence society in such a way that fights back against that. And ironically, as they do that, as they respond to a Donald Trump as he is a white nationalist, he's not, and we're not getting any white nationalism out of him, essentially, right? But they're reacting to him in that kind of capacity. It's then causing more people to actually kind of see that clearly and actually wake up to those kinds of things. I mean, just look at how, again, things rhetorically have changed. So that's ultimately a good thing for us. It's moving in our direction, although that, as you said, these are not our ultimately someone we can put trust in to sort out the situation for us. But it's a stepping, it's a ladder. It's just you take small steps, and you, again, as you said, we're kind of in a desperate situation, so you kind of have to take what you can, right? Yeah. Of sorts. But it's showing that it's like it's certain, the pendulum is swinging in our direction, and we have to learn to capitalize on that. And I think to a certain extent, collectively speaking, at least we've collectively speaking put pressure on more mainstream conservative voices that have been forced to kind of up their rhetoric and in the way they talk about things. And they know that if they don't start talking about like white replacement and these kinds of things, they'll become irrelevant. Essentially, they're feeling that heat from the grassroots, from the bottom. So I don't like necessarily that then now they become spokesperson or like, come listen to me, I'll tell you about white replacement, while they're offering you, at least at this point, none of the solutions. In fact, they're even, ironically, as they're exposing the problems, not offering any of the solutions. And in fact, they're even demonizing the solutions to some extent. And not that we need them, but give it another 6 months, a year, and let's see what they are at then. Because at some point, they're going to be like, well, what do we do about this then? Like, how can you not encourage people who are white to organize and to fight back and embrace their identity and heritage and become like any other racial and ethnic group, where they stand up for themselves, they take their own side, and they start pushing in the same direction. And eventually, once we start doing that, collectively speaking, as white people, things could transform very fast, like when we just put our mind to it. But we have that window of opportunity. No one is denying that. None of that means, oh, it's fine because it's heading in the right direction. No, we need to push harder than we've ever done before.
Right.
And we need to, do more. We need to act much more, fiercely and bravely as well, and take more risks and, of sorts. Not in a dumb way. Don't be, an idiot about things. Obviously, don't do stuff that's not, to our benefit at the end of the day. But I'm saying, like, in the terms of like, you have to dare a little bit. You do have to take risks in order to get some kind of results at the end of the day. And that's kind of where we are right now. We're right in that. I feel we're right in that period where things are finally beginning to move. It's moving in our direction. We need to learn to capitalize on it before someone else does at the same time, that then might, derail that message. So that's, we'll see. It's too early to tell, but we'll see where it goes. Interesting times, though. I'm encouraged. I'm always positive about this kind of stuff, because you have to be. And if we don't believe it, why would anyone else come to our side? If we don't believe that we can win, if we don't believe that we actually have what it takes to sort out this predicament, what are you going to do? Tell them about the predicament, but also it's totally over and we can't do anything about it. What's the point in that? Even if you think that we can't make it, you should never say that publicly. Never say it. Be smarter than that. Right. Fake it then. LARP as a winner. Literally, like LARPing is 100 times better, and believing that you can do it and achieve something than you being blackpilled and pulling down other people with you into the bucket. You know what I mean?
Completely.
It's like great. Someone did I forget what account it was, but and I'm butchering it here, but they were basically like, Caesar LARPed as Alexander the Great, and this other political leader LARPed as Caesar, and they all try to be someone that's greater than them ultimately, essentially. And their point is, that's not a bad thing. That's actually not a bad thing. even if you're not that for a period, you might not be that, but after a while and enough experience, I guess, to a certain extent, you can become something greater. But you have to believe it. You have to imagine it. It's weird because it's almost like a little delusional of sorts, I guess, in a way. But that's just kind of how it works, right? Because if you don't have self-esteem and willpower and determination to do something, if you can kind of psych yourself out and believe that you do of sorts, or give other people the impression that you do, by the time that but something weird happens, right? They will actually project onto you what they think that you are, and that is actually going to benefit you more. You'll be, in a weird way, become a projection of their intention and will. And if they see that, it's kind of reciprocal, right? If they see a potential in you, even if it's not there, that projection or that energy of sorts almost that you're given by that actually gives you what is necessary for you to step up to the plate. There's a strange thing happening. Right? It's all this, and there's all this, kind of metaphysical thing of like what a political leader is and like how they become, that kind of sounds wrong, right? But people have like talked about, Wotan and Hitler, and there's all these like metaphysical things that he actually incorporated and became something bigger than himself, essentially, right? And I think you can do and that sounds grandiose and too powerful, and most people are not in that position. But you can do that on small scales. You can do that in a micro version of that until things either grow, and eventually there will be leadership and leaders that are coming around that will have what it takes to unify people, to pull them together, and to make sure that we can move in the same direction.
I think once we get as Tim says a lot, we've imposed terms on the mainstream. Especially people like him and Whitaker and stuff, they've imposed the terminology on the mainstream. So I think eventually people are starting to get there. They're starting to wake up. They're seeing the necessity of these things we talk about. And I think ultimately we can hope for, reasonably, that there will eventually be an organization that represents our interest as a group. I mean, they have them for every other group. There will be. Yeah. The assumption is that, we're the default, so we already kind of have that just because of everything, and we're running everything. But unfortunately for us, it's not 1950. Unfortunately, no, we aren't running everything, and that's very well established pretty much if you look into it at all. And we're going to have, a white advocacy group, or many groups probably. And, they literally have HBCUs. They have, black-only colleges. Try to start a white-only college, see how that goes, right? So eventually we'll probably get there where we can have things that are our own again. I think that's reasonable to expect, and I don't think that's high in the sky at all.
No, and we shouldn't even settle for that, obviously. We need our countries back, ultimately. Yeah. But again, 100%. Those are stepping stones. That's a good direction. We shouldn't just be settled. It's almost that they've gotten to so much on the defensive that we're like, can we have what you have too?
Table scraps, table scraps,
crumbs off the table, essentially. Which is like, we don't even have that at this point, essentially. Right. But no, yes, you're correct. Obviously, we should whatever path is necessary. We should have the same rights, obviously, as other groups do too. That's a good start, right? But ultimately, it's like, we're going to need our countries back.
Right, 100%.
But we'll get there. We don't have to always reveal that or say that that's our intention immediately. No. We just want to sit at the table, just like you. Okay, kind of thing. You start there.
Yeah,
I think take over the table.
But think about how the enemy did it. Right, they did it through incrementalism, the sort of slow march to the institutions kind of stuff. There's no reason we can't utilize the same process to reverse their problem they've made for us. And incrementalism our way into these things. And like you said, LARP it into action if you need to. There's no reason not to do that.
There's groups that are 2% of the population in certain countries, and look at the institutional power and influence that they've managed to gain. We're Western countries in general. We're talking about all over the Western world here, but we are anywhere from 98% in some, Baltic states and stuff like that, percent of the population, to 65% in some, where and that's considered bad, right? Like France, Germany, Sweden, heading in that type of direction,
right?
In terms of the white population, the percentages of white population in these countries, but then they've already managed to almost this Jedi mind trick. No, it's over. No, it's over for you. You're 60. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see how much.
Yeah.
We'll waste decades with that, while there's groups that are literally 2% of the population that have managed to attain tremendous amounts of influence and power for themselves. And we can't even do it when we're 65. It's all up here. It's all up here. And the propaganda we're subjected to.
They've done such a thing with the demoralization. I mean, it's really just incredible how badly they've managed to do that to our people. There's so much people are demoralized, especially people that don't know the things we know. I don't know about you, but I would assume that, you're probably quite a happy person in your personal life. I'm a pretty happy person. I'm not walking around miserable. Like, I see these problems, and when I talk about them in a way, it's kind of, it releases the bad stuff of it. You don't internalize it.
Well, no, you have to talk about it. It's a lot of that too, and it's fine. I get it. People are tuning in for, positive messages, white pill messages of hope, and we try to interject there, all the time as much as it is. But at the same time, we're not going to lie to you. We're not doing this because it's easy. We're not doing this because we're going to tell you that we'll fix everything for you. It's all fine. Relax. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
If you're here to get a fucking easy journey, get the fuck out. Or shut up at least. Don't sit there and whine on everyone else and try to demoralize everyone else and think it's over. That's it, kind of thing. Like, just shut up, get out of the way. You know what I mean? Like that's the mentality we have to project onto those people that give us those type of messages, because it's nothing but hurting us. That's why I'm like, okay, clearly these people are not even aboard. They don't even understand the basic concept of us actually lifting each other up and actually moving in the same direction. But yes, part of that is to continuously recognize that the situation is bad. It's dire. We need to act. This is the fire that's necessary for you to get off your ass and to do something about stuff, and to decide whether that's to speak up or start supporting the people that speak up, or getting out there and getting active, whether it's joining other groups that are already established and active, whatever it is, whatever it is. And I'm just as long as you do something, as long as you help out, as long as you, but at the very minimum, at least don't try to block others and stand in the way and tell them that it's over. When they show up and people are enthusiastic. Oh, what do we do about this? I just came across this topic, or just learning about this or whatever. And then they read comments and stuff. Oh, that's it. Demographic. It's over. That's it. We're gonna, you don't want that energy there. You know what I mean?
No.
So I assume they're bad faith, actors or whatever that's there to actually demoralize. But I don't know. I get it. It's hard for everyone all times. But again, that's why it's not good always to say something, or if you feel that way, get off the internet for a while. You know what I mean? Go outside,
at least lurk
take
more.
a walk, exercise.
At least lurk more if you're gonna stay on the internet. You know?
Yep. Exactly.
We have hit a little over the 2-hour mark. I promise you not to stretch it too long, let you get the kids to bed and whatnot. So I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap her up. There was a couple more comments to get to. Let me check those out here. See what they had to say to us. Oh, this thing didn't load. That add-on doesn't work for that Rumble thing. Did you ever hear what is up with Rumble? Did you ever get a resolution that they're still cheating you guys?
No, not yet. No, no. They said they send a check or whatever, but no. We'll see. I'm thinking about getting a attorney involved, or at least do like a formal letter or something like that. The hard thing is you can't prove it, right? Because on the back end, they just list the super chat that they list, and literally, if you compare, for a while when we were getting them, I take screenshots of, these came in today. It's 15. It's this much. But even when you subtract for okay, they used an app, so 30% went to Apple, and then Rumble took their 20 or whatever percent, or whatever. But even that doesn't match up, kind of thing. It's just much fewer than it is, or whatever. So I don't know. It's just that. But how do you? Unless you provide them with that, which I did screenshots of it. But going back history, that's what I'm talking. This has been going on for months and months and months. In hindsight,
you've had your channel for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, on Rumble, and so it's been happening for a long time. So how do we prove that? We can't, because if we get on the back end, it just shows you what it shows you. You know what I mean? It's I can't do anything about that. But
if you guys are in the position where you have to do a discovery, if you have to actually do a lawsuit, you could do discovery, and they'd have to provide their backlogs and all this stuff.
Yeah, because there is exactly, because there is information somewhere. They're just hiding it from us. What I mean? Because that's tied to people's banks and stuff, and it seems to be then, barring that someone makes a super chat and it goes right back to them again. It failed, but they're showing out like it was a successful payment on our end or something. The only other possible option is they take either the whole thing or a portion of that thing and pocket it themselves. You know what I mean? I always wonder how Rumble made money. I always wonder how they make money, and this is
I thought it was the ads,
people said, yeah, I thought so too.
Snake oil.
People said, "Oh no, mine checks out," or whatever. Other accounts that I've talked to, they say, "Oh, it seems to be fine," or whatever. So maybe it's just us then. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they might be messing with you guys in particular. I think I'm getting paid. I'm still kind of backlogging. I'm going to do the charting to see if it's actually on the level. But they are paying me what they owe me, sort of. At least I think.
Okay.
So
all right.
Maybe you guys are getting messed with, and that's not cool at all. I don't like that whatsoever.
Nope.
But
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they just come clean and do whatever's right there. Paladin also says, for example, if I was part of a group, people need shit to drive. I know what cars to buy that are cheap and parts are available. Most people have no idea even how to preserve gasoline. Odd example. I don't know if I follow completely. 90% of people, he continues, 90% of what people drive will have zero parts available in the near future. That's true.
That's what they want to get to anyway.
Yeah, I think he's talking about. This is a content creators
like him being like something he knows, something he can do, or like help people with. Essentially, that's how I understand it.
Oh yeah. I think
well, exactly. Means. I mean, anything, absolutely. I mean, anything that helps. This is what I'm talking about. Like, we've been stripped of every aspect of us having a society ultimately, right? But like, yeah, we literally need to like patch that up again, and it's weird because now it's also kind of like in a way, yes, it's kind of transnational in some regards too, right? There's like an international network of people in the Western world all over. They're like also influencing each other, helping each other, but there's like we need, but information directories or whatever, like who do I support in these areas, or if I'm in this region, who can I go to get these services, like things like that. I mean, like indexes of people that are us, because it used to be there was like, oh, it's our society, it's our people. Wherever you go in wherever you're close to, whatever you need, you're going to go to a person that's of your folk, of your group for the most part, right? I mean, it used to be the story, and now it's not, and they're bypassing us, and they have their own support your BIPOC businesses. Well, support your white businesses. We need that, those framework, those indexes in place, and let's go, let's do it.
It's really quite shocking that we can't do that. I mean, they use Title IX and stuff to block us from being able to put in restrictive covenant communities, and businesses say we only serve our own people. They will not let us do that. I mean, if we try to do that, they will brutally sue us and whatever else they can do. But we need to be able to make the change. We need to be able to organize enough that we can exert political pressure and say, no, we want to be able to do that. If all the Muslims only want to shop, what do you mean?
They can't tell you what businesses to go to.
That's true. That's true.
It wouldn't be that you're saying someone can't utilize whatever business, right? It's not even about that. It's about just saying, no, if you're searching if you need this service, here's four guys somewhat close to you that offer these things. Go to them because they're our guys.
Oh, I see.
That's not illegal. They can't.
No, they can't do anything about that.
Criminalize that. You know what I mean? So you don't even have to like. It's not about like, oh, you can't do. No, in fact, have them come. It's even better. Have other people come to you and do their business. Make them give you their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we actually want that.
I really like that. That absolutely could work, and I don't see any way that they could villainize that. I mean, I guess you could have anti-white groups attack them based on the list, I suppose. But
I guess so. Yeah, maybe.
Short of that, I don't see anything else that's wrong with it.
No, and if it's enough people on there anyway, I mean, that's usually the problem, right? You need enough people on those kinds of things in order to get the ball rolling, and when there's enough, you can't attack everybody, and you can't shut down everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a momentum building thing, and the more people do it, or the more people come out for something or support something, and again, as we said, like base minimum, like you get off on the couch when there's issues happening in your area, if there's political things or events, and again, you might not be 100% agreeing with everybody on everything, but again, we're making the we're searching for perfect all the time, which is the enemy of good, right? So it's like or decent. Absolutely. Or enough, at least. If it's enough, go show up. And my point is, the more people that show their faces, more people get out there and do things, the more it looks popular. The more popular it looks, the more other people will then next time join in on those things, and that's how you build kind of momentum.
Completely, and I think that's part of it too. That everybody can see that, like, no, we're just normal, decent people. We're not weird or crazy or dangerous or whatever. They're going to find out. Oh, like, okay, I agree with them on a lot of these things too. And And I think there's an illusion that's been built around people like us that we're somehow evil or bad or whatever. And then when people actually talk to us, like, wait, this guy's just a normal guy. It's actually kind of nice. This sort of thing, right? And, we're going to be able to build these things. I have faith, have faith in your own people. I think it's coming, and it's already kind of building. You can feel the momentum. I think people know what's needed, and necessity is the mother of creation in the end, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We need that's our best time in a way, actually. Yeah. When we really are challenged, to be honest, and we're being challenged right now. So it's time for us to step up and show that we can do it.
Oh, completely. It's overdue, really. At this point, it's something where we're almost it's almost overdue. It's called for. Well, let me make sure I just read them all just to make sure we don't have any questions for you. Send you on your way. I don't think we had any questions, actually. Sure. Oh, I did miss one, actually. Yeah. Sorry, I did one. Goose Steppenwolf says, agreed. We can't crawl up a bear's ass and wait for the worst. We built America, and it's time to take back large parts of America and Europa from these Bolshevik Jews. Make white babies. Hail Henrik and NNR. Well, hail to you.
Yeah.
Goose Steppenwolf.
That's it. That's a good start. And,
I like the
exactly.
Attitude.
We get it.
I like the attitude.
Get to procreate. Number one.
Yeah. A little late on that game, but it's always time to catch up. Right?
For guys, it's never too late for men. Women, there's a window of opportunity, but for men, it's never too late.
Thank God for that. I'd be screwed otherwise. Ryan Trilogy says, hello, Henrik. So it's just saying hi. Also, Henrik.
Hello. Hey, Ryan.
It's good. Ryan Triple G is an absolute king. Talk about people that do something active. This man has supported the entire nationalist content creator community in like an extreme way. I'm not going to tell everybody what he said he's spent doing this, but let's just say it's substantial, and we all owe him respect for that.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Deeply appreciate it. That's amazing. That's what we're talking about right there. People with means, resources, and they're allowing us to continue and helping us so we can continue to spread the word and grow and all that stuff. And then from there, we, it's like a concentric circle outward. More people hear about us. We go on to inspire people. They go on to do stuff. They awaken, and here we go. It pops off. That's how we do it.
Completely. It's a ripple effect. Henry Han also says, loving King Henrik's optimism. Defeat never, victory forever. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Well, I think we got to the end of the super chats. I think I will wrap her up here. Doesn't overtax you, but I really appreciate you coming on, Henrik. It's been a blast, and anytime, man. Welcome anytime. Let me know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Awesome being here. Thank you so much, Nick. Keep up the good work. Obviously, great having you sitting on our shows here recently too. So thank you for doing that for us. We really appreciate it.
Total honor.
Always a pleasure. Let's do it again soon for sure.
Please, absolutely. Just let me know.
Will do. All right, man. Thank you. I'll log off. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. See you later.
Goodbye. Let me go ahead and switch here. Go ahead and switch shows here. This and okay, we are back here. I'm back with just myself. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this really quick, and then desktop capture. First, that was the very famous and awesome Henrik of Red Ice. Awesome. Glad he was here. What a blast. Thank you very much, everybody who supported. I'm going to be right back, though, but I'm going to separate it. So I'm going to end this stream and boot up a new one. I quickly typed up an after show Odyssey file there as we were talking at the end. And I'm going to go ahead and shut this one down and boot up another one so that I can save this as a separate replay from just another show. But I am going to do an after show, and we're going to take a look at Modern Politics released a new one about the protests. I want to take a look at that and see what they're talking about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Different stream file, same channel. Give me about a couple minutes, and we'll be back up here rolling right again. So again, big thank you to Henrik for coming on. I appreciate it very much. And stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. We'll be right back. Let me go ahead and do this here. A little bumper. Get a little bumper. Okay. Oh, not that one. Okay, this one. Sorry, wrong one. Okay.